Substance addiction is a very scary thing. Well, it depends. A dude who's addicted to ashwagandha ain't gonna be on the same level of desperation as a motherfucking head, but nevertheless, both them dudes still addicted. Only difference is one is willing to lie, rob, manipulate, and destroy all his relationships just to get one more smack of that sweet crack. Anyway, since this seems to be a trendy topic right now, we are going to be ranking every substance from S to F based on many factors like addictiveness, how hard it is to quit, how much it affects your life negatively, etc. With F being the hardest to quit and most harmful for you, and S being just a mild addiction. And all of this will of course be presented to you in a family-friendly, comedic, entertaining, and scientific way. So, YouTube, please, I'm just a funny stick man. So let's start it off with what your boy might be addicted to just a teeny tiny bit, and that's of course weed. Some people might say you can't get addicted to weed, and to those I say, bro, you dumb as shit. Okay, not to be mean, but that statement is just false, because as humans, we can get addicted to anything and everything. Even shit like a cool breeze on a hot summer's day could get you addicted, because that shit feels nice, bro. What I'm trying to say is that even though getting physically addicted to the Zaza is quite hard, getting mentally addicted is easier than watching a 10-minute YouTube video. Well, if you're Gen Alpha, this doesn't apply to you with your skibbity toilets and stuff, but you get what I mean. It's all about habit and relieving stress, and even if you smoke up once a day at the end of your day when you got all your shit done and it's time to relax, you still mentally addicted by equating relaxation with smoking the Lord's loud. But overall, if I'm being a $125.5 with you, this isn't too bad, because when you're at this level, you won't start tweaking if you don't have any weed. You just prefer it if you did. But if you do smoke up 24/7, it's a bit different, because your body will start relying on the za to get you through your day. Although honestly, it's kind of hard to get to that point, because if you're anything like me, after a day or two of smoking weed and doing nothing productive, your mind will tell you, oh boy, time to get faded and play V-Rising all day again. Bro, what the fuck is you doing? You really finna wake and bake again? You're broke, and you look like a damn bum. Man, I swear, you wake and bake today too, and I'ma start giving you mad anxiety, bruh. Oh, okay, fine. I'll be a functioning human today. Total busk. But one of the biggest things I personally worry about when smoking weed, or really anything else, is the damage you could be doing to your lungs in the process. So all in all, weed gets a B rating because of its mostly non-addictive nature and relative ease in which it is to quit for most people. Very much unlike fentanyl. Not much to say here. Smoke once, you dead, bro. Don't have to worry about quitting, cause, well, you're dead. Oh, but if you do survive, your brain has now been chemically altered forever, so now all you want is the stuff. So if not instantly, you're dead in a week or two tops. Although I think some people have managed to quit, they'll probably just never be the same again. So complete F tier. Actually fucking Z tier. Don't even think about it, bro. Crack. Now, before I researched into fentanyl, I thought this was like the pinnacle of addiction. I guess not, cause I saw this clip of some dude talking about how veteran crackheads who have been alive for decades and still smoking that shit be dead instantly after taking a sniff of fentanyl. But even so, crack is F tier, cause just like fentanyl, it alters the chemistry of your brain, and now the pursuit of happiness turns into the pursuit of crack. Again, don't even think about it, bruh. Now let's tune back from the hardcore stuff in hopes that this video is still staying monetized, which seems more like a fantasy right now, but anyway. Caffeine. The wonder drug, a widely accepted and extensively researched substance that works by stimulating your body and increasing the activity in your brain and nervous system. Just drink too much of it and it'll have the exact opposite effect, leaving you super anxious and unable to work properly. Also, it is somewhat addictive, although quite controllable, but if you do drink the same amount of coffee or shotgun a Red Bull every day, pretty soon you'll discover that the Red Bull isn't really getting you going anymore. So now you need another, so you either get another, or you realize that this is a slippery slope and not drink that Red Bull for a day or two and your tolerance goes back to normal. I found the best way to manage your caffeine addiction is to only consume it when you feel like you're gonna need it for the day. What I mean by that is if you, let's say, work from Monday to Friday, then drink a coffee or two those days, but refrain from consuming caffeine on the weekends. That should give your mind and body enough time to reset your dependency without it even being that hard. There's also a bunch of research showing that 1 or 2 cups of coffee are actually good for you and can lower the likelihood of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, liver and endometrial cancers, Parkinson's disease, and depression. So yeah, bro, I mean, with the other shit on this list, I think it would be silly for me not to throw it at S tier, but do keep in mind moderation is always key to what you consume, how you plan your time, how you live your life, everything, bruh. But coffee, S tier, moving. Nicotine. Nicotine is like caffeine's evil brother, because just like caffeine, nicotine can increase your focus and help you get through your day. Only problem is, unlike caffeine, which I'd say for most people can be a controlled addiction, vaping usually isn't. In fact, a big portion of people who consume this stuff do it to the point of it having the exact opposite effect, making you dizzy and less energized. And just like caffeine, you build up a tolerance pretty fast, making your sin bombs less bomby with each stuffing. The worst part of Nick though is always gonna be the fact that most dudes are inhaling aerosol in their lungs to get it in their system, which from that you will experience gross side effects pretty fast like phlegm in your throat 24/7, loss of lung capacity, and pretty soon anxiety when you can't suck on your vape for a prolonged period of time. But the actual worst part about vaping is that it's fucking lame as shit. And even though in high school it might have made you cool, in the real world being addicted to flavored cancer-infused mists really shows a lot about your character.
Character? What does that even mean?
It means that if you're like really addicted to the point of vaping every day all the time with no plans on quitting, it indicates that you're a mentally weak person, because at that point you sound like a ghoul from Fallout, run out of breath from walking up a flight of stairs, and you're constantly spitting shit from your mouth, aka you've turned into a gremlin, aka you're gonna be treated like a gremlin by people who aren't gremlins. If this is only something I've noticed, then so be it, but if I'm gonna keep it a $1.50 with you, every single person I know who is heavily addicted to nicotine is not a very productive / successful person. But hey, that might just be me and my personal experience. So make sure to comment down below if you've noticed something similar or I'm just talking out my ass. We're gonna throw nicotine at E tier just cause, well, crack is on F tier and, well, it's not that bad. Now though, moving on to a more psychedelic world. Mushrooms. I'm not talking about culinary mushrooms or even the ones Mario uses to grow bigger. I'm talking about the mushroom Luigi collects and saves at the beginning levels for when after the game is over to get on Rainbow Road, if you know what I'm saying. Psychedelics overall are not super addictive though, cause if you've ever been on a trip from these things, you know that shit is exhausting as shit. I mean for real, after my heroic journey, I felt like my brain had gone through a month's worth of thoughts in one 5-hour session, leaving me completely mentally drained. But that doesn't mean mushrooms aren't addictive at all, because although not physically addictive, just like weed, mushrooms can be mentally addictive, cause when you're tripping, you feel like you're in this secret dimension of being, which gives you a sense of belonging and makes you feel special. And that feeling can be addictive, especially if you're not very happy with your current situation in your normal life. They can be used as an escape, kinda like Alice in Wonderland, but unlike more natural escapes like TV shows, video games, and movies, mushrooms leave your brain drained and confused. That's also the reason why if you go to a smart shop in Amsterdam, they always tell you to take at least a 4 to 5 day break in between mushroom trips. Firstly, because of the aforementioned mentally draining effect they have, but also because your body builds up a tolerance extremely fast to psilocybin, the chemical found in magic mushrooms. And if you bang multiple trips in a row, the effect will be much lighter, but also because of that, it'll feel less draining and therefore make it possible to take this stuff daily. And if you do, you can get a bit disassociated from your normal existence and therefore build up a bit of an addiction to mushroom land. All that being said, magic mushrooms are one of the only substances on this list that have been proven to have therapeutic uses, like for example fighting your other addictions. I know from my personal experience when I banked a heroic dose, it made me think a lot about how much I consume things like weed and nicotine, and from that I was able to cut both those things down a bit, especially the nicotine. I also know of people microdosing this stuff and having positive effects, but me personally, I don't really believe that, because if you're taking them every day, you'll eventually start relying on them, and that kind of defeats the whole point of tripping once and carrying what you learn into your normal life, I think. Anyway, all in all, mushrooms gotta be B tier, because when you do get addicted to them, it can drastically mess up your life. It's just kinda hard to get to that point. But that's all for today, folks. If you want a part 2, make sure to comment what substances would you like to see explained and ranked. But until then, peace. Since the dawn of humanity, us Homo sapiens and previously Neanderthals have always been different from the rest of the pack, where zebras, deers, and other pussy-ass animals accepted the pre-installed food chain. We humans decided,
Man, screw this shit! These mammoths always walking around like they own the place! I'm tired of being a beta. Let's go get a bunch of spears and kill these fat motherfuckers for food.
The only problem with having self-awareness and as of 2024 being the smartest creatures in the universe is that with a cruel twist of fate, being so intelligent has also made us the saddest and most mentally unstable creatures as well. Unfortunately, being so sharp, we have over the years, through the power of chemistry and science, invented or tried to invent happiness in capsules, syringes, powders, or anything else we could come up with. So today, we are going to go over humanity's worst creations in the field and dive deep into horrifying drugs you should never ever try, starting with Krokodil, aka desomorphine. Krokodil, also known by its chemical name desomorphine, is a synthetic opioid that is notorious for the horrifying physical effects it can have on users. Originally developed in Russia as a cheaper alternative to heroin, Krokodil is typically made by combining codeine with toxic chemicals like lighter fluid, paint thinner, gasoline, hydrochloric acid, and even red phosphorus from matchstick heads. The nickname Krokodil comes from the scaly greenish skin that forms where the drug is injected. Yup, you heard right. Your skin literally starts looking like a crocodile's because this stuff is so toxic it causes the tissue to rot. We're talking about skin peeling, scales forming, and bones becoming visible through flesh. Ew. You'll be looking like Green Goblin, bruh. Except for like, super strength and a cool glider, you'll just have a life-destroying addiction to a DUI opioid. Fair deal. Desomorphine itself is a powerful opioid, synthesized from morphine and more potent than heroin in terms of its pain-relieving effects. Krokodil doesn't just mess with your brain, it goes straight for the body. After shooting up, you get a brief heroin-like high, but the aftermath? The drug stops blood flow to your skin, which then dies and falls off. So if smelling like expired meat and looking like a jockey from Left 4 Dead sounds fun, Krokodil is perfect for you. Although Krokodil's high is similar to heroin, it's a much shorter kick, with effects usually lasting only about 90 minutes to 2 hours. This leads to a frequent need to inject, with each rep making you more goblin-y. And with how addictive this stuff is, a full transformation is usually weeks or even days away. Once injected, the toxic additives in Krokodil begin to cause serious vascular damage, cutting off blood supply to tissues. This leads to necrosis, aka tissue death, often within days of regular use. Users commonly experience infections, abscesses, and gangrene at the infection sites. The skin around the sites may rot and decay, exposing bone and tissue. Some users even require amputations because of severe infections, which after hearing all this, you might understand why some people call it unhealthy heroin.
Who's that guy?
Oh, that's Tom. Yeah, he's into all types of messed up drugs.
Damn, hate to say it.
Yeah, don't talk to him. He's definitely a bad influence. Let's move on and talk about a drug that is extremely dangerous, but in a much different way, and that is Scopolamine, aka Devil's Breath. If a drug could win a supervillain award, Scopolamine would sweep the category. Imagine something that could turn you into the world's politest zombie, calmly handing over your wallet and life savings to complete strangers, and then thanking them on your way out. That's Devil's Breath in a nutshell. Scopolamine is classified as an anticholinergic drug, meaning it blocks acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in memory, learning, and muscle control. This disruption in neurotransmission can cause hallucinations, amnesia, confusion, and loss of free will. Even in small doses, scopolamine can impair cognitive function, making users susceptible to suggestion, which is why it's sometimes exploited by criminals. High doses can lead to extreme sedation, paralysis, and unconsciousness. Basically, although not as physically harmful as Krokodil, Devil's Breath literally makes you into a remote control zombie. In some parts of South America, particularly in Colombia, scopolamine is infamous for its use in crimes. Criminals blow powdered Devil's Breath into the faces of unsuspecting individuals or add it to their drinks, rendering them compliant and susceptible to suggestion. Victims often experience antegrade amnesia, meaning they cannot form new memories. They may follow commands, give away personal belongings, reveal their bank information, or even assist in robbery while in this zombie-like state with no memory or little memory of the events afterward. Hello?
Where am I? What?
Yo, Jack Dorothy's stream, fam. Here, sit down and watch this for 6 hours.
Wouldn't it be more productive for you to have me rob a bank or give you my bank details or anything else?
Nope.
Well, fuck?
It's not all super bad though. I mean, in modern medicine, scopolamine is still used in very controlled doses to treat motion sickness, nausea, irritable bowel syndrome, and to alleviate symptoms of Parkinson's disease. At therapeutic doses, scopolamine is relatively safe under medical supervision, but its effects increase dramatically with higher doses, leading to severe mental and physical side effects. All in all, if you have plans of becoming a supervillain anytime soon, this might just be the thing to get you going. Now though, moving on to the next substance, and that is Flakka, aka synthetic bath salts, aka alpha PVP. Flakka is basically the result of someone saying, you know what, bath salts aren't intense enough, bruh. It's a synthetic stimulant, and while the high might start as a short burst of energy, it quickly turns into an episode of The Walking Dead. Only this time the zombie is arguing with a mailbox cause it looked at him funny. So how does it work? Well, imagine you're suddenly the star of an action movie where you're invincible and can outsmart everyone. Except in reality, you're flailing around the street wearing one shoe and debating philosophy with a stop sign. Flakka disrupts the brain's dopamine system, so while you feel invincible, you're actually just terrifying every passerby.
Where are the Fruit Loops, you slime? You told me you'd give me my Fruit Loops today.
Excuse me, sir? Are you okay?
What? Of course I'm not okay, my fellow Space Ranger. This intergalactic death slime won't give me my goddamn Fruit Loops back. You got any dark matter on ya? I'm stumped without it, brah. Come to Florida. It'll be great there,
Flakka users often experience what's called excited delirium. In normal people language, that's overheating while trying to lift a car. The combo of a sky-high body temperature, Hulk-level aggression, and an indestructible sense of purpose is basically a recipe for disaster. Flakka has also been known to cause kidney failure and severe paranoia. So not only do you think the trash can is plotting against you, but now you need a whole new kidney, man. The worst part is, people tend to get hooked on Flakka faster than you can say, maybe this was a bad idea. It messes with the brain's reward system, so once the high fades, users often want more. And that's how you end up asking a lamppost for directions to the nearest dimensional portal. Flakka is not here for a fun time, neither a long time. If you value your dignity and don't want to star in a viral video titled Local Man Fights Tree, Loses, it's best to keep this one off your list. Now though, for the last substance that is very well known and extremely deadly, something I've already talked about on this channel, but this one is an ongoing epidemic and destroying lives as we speak, so I feel like I have to mention it here as well. Fentanyl, aka death. Okay, so no one calls Fent death, but they should, because this drug is known for killing people like flies. It might not be as extravagant as the other substances in this video, but that does not mean it doesn't belong here. Fentanyl is an ongoing crisis in the US, meaning unlike Krokodil or Flakka, which are niche drugs, by the time you finish watching this video, there'll be at least one person who OD'd on Fent. Fentanyl is slipped into everything from coke, molly, other opioids, and yes, even weed. As Dio Vaughn said to Vice President-elect J.D. Vance,
I don't know if I'd be sober if this stuff weren't killing people, to be honest with you.
Which might have not been super appropriate to say, but you know, he's kind of right. There is no escape from fentanyl. You do it once and you're hooked for life, which means a couple days to a week or two max. Cause if you're lucky enough to escape fent your first time, it'll get you so addicted, you'll most likely start considering selling your body on the streets to get more of this stuff. And then, well, OD and die. Hopefully, by the new appointed leaders of the free world, this awful pandemic could finally start declining, but until that day arrives, doing anything besides store-bought stuff is truly a deadly gamble. So in conclusion, maybe just stick to grass? Drugs. There are so many, but don't get it twisted. Just cause something is a drug doesn't automatically mean it was meant to be consumed in the dirty stalls of nightclub bathrooms. Even most of the substances that do fall into that category were never intentionally designed for it. Take one of the most famous magic powders, for example, cocaine. Like many other potential life-destroying addictions, Coco Loco didn't mean any harm. In fact, I bet when Albert Neiman isolated cocaine from cocoa leaves in 1860, he had no idea he was setting the stage for future South American entrepreneurs to thrive. It was actually first used as an anesthetic by dentists and surgeons. But over the next 150 years, it morphed into what we know today. Coco Loco was praised as a miracle drug for fatigue, depression, and even toothaches. It was a common ingredient in tonics, elixirs, and yes, Coca-Cola. Sigmund Freud, the famed neurologist, was one of its biggest advocates, calling it a magical substance and even prescribing it to his friends and patients. Unfortunately, Freud later regretted his enthusiasm when he realized the drug's ultra-addictive properties, particularly after seeing his friend Ernst von Fleischli-Marxoff develop a severe cocaine addiction. But hey, what you gonna do? well, lay off the coke, I guess. But $200 per gram snow isn't the only notorious drug that was once legal. In fact, I think you'll be quite surprised by how many of today's big no-no substances started off their career as miracle drugs and were prescribed as medicine by doctors and shit. Which the next one we'll be talking about was actually used in World War II to create super soldiers unafraid of death. Basically, imagine the entire plotline of Captain America the First Avenger, but instead of that blue super serum, they had methamphetamine. World War II super soldier pills. World War II wasn't just a clash of nations, it was a showdown fueled by, well, meth. Every major power looked at methamphetamine and said, you know what would pair nicely with tanks and fighter planes? What? Okay, hear me out. A highly addictive stimulant that makes soldiers feel invincible. That way, if somehow survive the war, they won't just have the PTSD, they'll also have the crippling drug addiction. What combo? You, sir, are a genius. I'll run it by Evil Mustache Man tomorrow. The Germans were all in on methamphetamine because, well, of course they were. In 1938, a German pharmaceutical company developed Pervitin, which was essentially meth in pill form. It was so effective at keeping soldiers awake and focused that it earned the nickname Panzer Chocolate because nothing says war effort like drug-laced candy. Blitzkrieg tactics, rapid, relentless, no-sleep attacks weren't just about strategy. German soldiers were popping Pervitin like they were at a rave. The drug kept them awake for days as they marched across Europe, which might explain the whole let's invade everyone vibe. Soldiers wrote home about how great it was. I felt alert, powerful, and unstoppable. Translation, Dear Mom, I am on meth. It is amazing. Fun fact, Adolf Hitler himself was a walking pharmacy. His personal doctor, Fyodor Morel, gave him regular methamphetamine injections to keep him energized. Some even considered that it might have been his downfall, because, well, it is hard to keep a clear and strategic mindset while you're on more drugs than a festival main event. Japan wasn't about to be left out of the stimulant arms race either. Their version of meth, Philippon, was handed out to soldiers, factory workers, and kamikaze pilots. Yes, kamikaze pilots. Imagine being told, hey, so looks like you're flying a one-way mission today, aka you're going to die, but here's some meth to make it more fun. Japan for the win! Fist bump? No? Okay, well, I'll be on my way. Handing out more meth. The Allies weren't innocent in this drug-fueled war either. Well, they didn't have Pervitin, they had Benzedrine, an amphetamine that was basically meth's slightly less chaotic cousin. British and American troops popped these pep pills to stay awake during long bombing raids and grueling marches. British Royal Air Force pilots used Benzedrine to stay awake during night raids. Some of them were so wired that after bombing German cities, they'd come back, clean their planes, and write detailed mission reports in cursive. Side effects? Well, a few pilots became so overconfident they ignored orders, which is probably not ideal when you're flying a plane full of explosives. By the end of World War II, methamphetamine had carved out a reputation as both a war hero and a total disaster. Sure, it helped soldiers stay awake, march faster, and bomb better, but it also turned them into jittery, paranoid wrecks. Post-war, many soldiers came home with what we might call battlefield meth habits. Nothing like trying to adjust to civilian life while also coming down from a 3-year stimulant bender, eh? Which makes me wonder, what if instead of meth being the substance of choice in World War II, everybody was just smoking the Lord's loud?
We must invade everyone. We must kill everything. Perhaps we should just call this bullshit off.
This next drug might be even more well known and its history even weirder, and that is MDMA. From lab coat to dance floor. First off, MDMA wasn't created for partying. Oh no. It was born in 1912 in the lab of a German pharmaceutical company called Merck. The chemist behind it, Anton Kurlisch, wasn't really trying to invent a drug that makes people hug strangers at music festivals. He was working on an entirely different problem, synthesizing medications to stop excessive bleeding. MDMA was just a random byproduct in this quest. It was an accident, which is somehow the most MDMA thing ever. Did Merck realize they'd accidentally created a future rave drug? No, not at all. They didn't even test MDMA on humans. Instead, they filed it away under meh, not important. It was just another molecule on a long list of maybe useful someday compounds. Fast forward to the 1950s when the US military and the CIA were doing some totally normal Cold War things, like trying to figure out how to use drugs for mind control, aka MK Ultra. MDMA caught their eye as a potential tool for interrogations because, you know, nothing screams top-notch spycraft like dosing people with a chemical that makes them feel euphoric and want to talk about their feelings. Did it work? Not really. Turns out making someone feel like they're floating on a cloud doesn't exactly make them spill state secrets. It'd probably make them say things like, you know, I feel like we should all just get along. Not exactly espionage gold. The 1970s rolled around and MDA finally found its groove, not as a party drug, but as a psychotherapy aid. Therapists rediscovered the compound and started using it in sessions to help patients open up emotionally. Why spend years breaking down emotional walls when you could just take MDMA and bulldoze through them in one afternoon? Like all good things, MDMA's peaceful little therapy bubble couldn't last. The drug escaped from the therapist's office and somehow landed in the hands of partygoers. By the 1980s, MDMA had become the ultimate nightclub companion. In classic marketing genius, someone decided that MDMA didn't sound cool enough for the club scene, so they rebranded it as ecstasy. Boom! Instant hit. By the mid-80s, ecstasy was everywhere. Raves, dance floors, house parties, you name it. People loved the euphoric high, the amplified sense of connection, and let's be honest, the way it made techno music sound like the voice of God. Naturally, this didn't sit well with the authorities. By 1985, the US government officially classified MDMA as a Schedule I drug, meaning it was deemed highly addictive with no medical use. Despite being banned, MDMA didn't just vanish, it continued thriving in underground scenes and became a staple of rave culture. Meanwhile, researchers never gave up on its potential for therapy. In recent years, it's had a bit of a comeback, this time as a possible treatment for PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Studies are showing that MDMA-assisted therapy is shockingly effective, especially for people with severe PTSD. It turns out the same drug that makes people hug strangers at Burning Man can also help veterans confront their darkest memories. Talk about range. But staying on the topic of MK Ultra and the government's attempts at mind control, there's another drug that caught their eye, and that is LSD. The story of LSD begins in 1938 with a Swiss chemist named Albert Hofmann, who worked for the pharmaceutical company Sandoz. Hofmann was tinkering with compounds derived from ergot, a fungus that grows on rye and other grains. His goal was to develop a stimulant for respiratory and circulatory systems. Instead, he accidentally created a psychedelic ticket to another dimension. Classic mix-up. When he first synthesized LSD, it didn't seem particularly interesting, so he shelved it for 5 years. In 1943 though, Hofmann revisited the compound, and while working with it, he accidentally absorbed a tiny amount through his skin. This led to the world's first acid trip, which Hofmann described as unusual shapes with intense kaleidoscopic play of colors. Which, I wish he had used an easier word to describe it, so I wouldn't have to fucking Google its pronunciation. A few days after his accidental exposure, Hofmann decided to take 250 micrograms of LSD to see what it could do. Spoiler, this was way too much for a first trip. Soon after, he realized he was extremely high and decided to bike home, thus creating Bicycle Day, the unofficial holiday for LSD enthusiasts. Hofmann described it as a state of dreamlike euphoria mixed with terror. Everything around him warped and shifted. He thought his neighbor was a witch, his furniture was threatening him, and the walls were melting. Fun! And yet, Hofmann still considered it a fascinating and valuable experience. That's commitment to science right there. By the 1950s, LSD wasn't just a curiosity, it became a promising tool for psychiatry. Sandoz marketed it as Delicid and sent samples to psychiatrists and researchers worldwide. Therapists believed LSD could help patients confront repressed trauma, treat alcoholism, and even boost creativity. It made people talk. A lot. Patients would have emotional breakthroughs, experience vivid memories, and feel like they were seeing the truth of the universe. Therapists thought they had found the ultimate shortcut to inner peace. A notable success found by researchers was that LSD could help alcoholics quit drinking, with some claiming they experienced a spiritual awakening during their trips. It was like AA, but with rainbows and fractals. As with most cool things in the 20th century, the US government took one look at LSD and thought, how can we weaponize this? Enter MK Ultra, the CIA's infamous mind control project. LSD became the drug of choice for experiments and unwitting subjects. The CIA thought LSD could be used to brainwash people, extract secrets, or turn spies into super suggestible puppets. Apparently no one told them that acid mostly makes people want to stare at the ceiling and listen to music. Awkward. Anyway, the reality was that the experiments were a mess. Subjects, often unaware they'd been dosed, experienced paranoia, hallucinations, and existential crises. Turns out slipping LSD into someone's coffee isn't the best way to create a super spy. Who knew? By the 1960s, LSD had escaped the lab and landed squarely in the hands of counterculture pioneers. Enter Timothy Leary, the Harvard psychologist turned acid evangelist. Leary's mantra, turn on, tune in, drop out, became the rallying cry for a generation of hippies exploring their consciousness. By the late 1960s though, LSD's reputation had gone from therapeutic miracle to moral panic. Stories of bad trips, psychotic breaks, and people thinking they could fly, hint they couldn't, spread like wildfire. Governments around the world scrambled to ban LSD, labeling it as dangerous and addictive, despite there being little evidence to support either claim. In 1970, the US classified LSD as a Schedule I drug, making it illegal for any use, even research. The summer of love was over, and the war on drugs was in full swing. Drugs. Something America has been fighting against for over a century, yet this endeavor hasn't been very fruitful. Basically, imagine the ocean as all the drugs in the US, and they have thousands of people with buckets slowly emptying it out. But the problem is, on the other side of the ocean, there's dudes like Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria who have direct pipelines feeding in endless amounts of pure Colombian cocaína. But you know, Pablo was the GOAT narco. Surely after defeating the Medellin cartel, things would get... oh, well, fuck. Basically, because the US is by far the biggest market in the world, there will always be tons of entrepreneurs, mostly South American, who want to invest. And because starting a tech company with only 100 pesos and a 2-cylinder motorbike is pretty hard, why not settle for the next best thing? Drugs. From the opium crisis of the late 19th century to the current fentanyl one, we are going to look at every drug epidemic in US history and hopefully by the end of it, learn why the fuck does this keep happening. So let's start it off with the first one. The opium epidemic of the late 19th century. Welcome to the late 1800s, where opium is basically America's favorite snack. Got a headache? Opium. Can't sleep? Opium. You're feeling a little bit down? Yup, opium. Doctors were out here handing them out like strip club invites on the Las Vegas Strip, especially in the form of laudanum, a fancy mix of opium and alcohol.
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team fucking here. Hey, yo, doc, you think I could get a quick refill on that prescription laudanum? You know, that good shit. Sorry, John, we're all out. But here, take this Jack Daniels and powdered opium. Just smack a hit from the pipe and wash it down with the Jack, if you know what I mean. That should get you back on track. Rehab. Oh geez, thanks doc. Now excuse me as I go get fucked up on my medicine and partake in my favorite 19th century pastime, beating my wife. Godspeed, John. But then the Chinese immigrants arrived, working hard and bringing along the practice of smoking opium in dens. These dens were kind of like the Starbucks of the day, except instead of coffee, they served up a bowl of relaxing opium. Naturally, this made some folks nervous, cause nothing says panic like a little cultural exchange mixed with drugs. Then came the moral outrage, which wasn't just about the opium, but also had a hefty dose of racism. Suddenly people decided opium was bad news, especially when it involved Chinese immigrants. So San Francisco passed a law in 1875 targeting these opium dens, effectively saying no more public opium fun for anybody. By 1914, the US government got serious with the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, making it way harder to get opium without a lot of paperwork. And just like that, the first US drug epidemic started to fade, leaving behind a legacy of questionable drug policies and a whole lot of finger pointing. So what did we learn, or rather should have learned? Well, maybe that it's a bad idea to get the entire country hooked on a substance before figuring out how addictive it is, and that blaming everything on immigrants never really solves the problem, but alas, this lesson was forgotten pretty fast. Now let's jump to the second multi-drug epidemic, which was the heroin, speed, and barbiturates crisis of the mid-20th century. Did you know heroin wasn't always the notorious bad guy we know today? In fact, it started as a miracle drug that was supposed to cure people of their morphine addictions, which I think you're probably starting to see a bit of a pattern here with the US being overly confident in their medical knowledge and getting people hooked on hardcore drugs. Tom, what are you doing with that morphine? Oh, well, I've had this headache since the morning. Well, good luck with that. Morphine is like super addictive, bro. What's that? Oh, this is just heroin. It's like way better than morphine, like way better. Heroin is in fact better than morphine, specifically 2 to 3 times strong. Better. Anyway, doctors back then really did think they'd hit the jackpot. Got a cough? Here's heroin the hero. Feeling a little down? Heroin's got your back. But instead of curing addictions, it just traded one addiction for another, stronger one. And people got hooked faster than you can say Chains FR clone. Fast forward to the 1960s and 70s, and heroin was like that super obnoxious drunk guy who refused to leave the function. It spread like wildfire, especially in cities. You had everyone from jazz musicians to war veterans getting tangled up in heroin's sticky web. It was cheap, it was potent, and it was
everywhere. And then came the crime. As you might guess, a bunch of people addicted to opioids isn't exactly a recipe for peace and harmony. Crime rates soared and cities became battlegrounds, with heroin at the center of it all. The government's solution? A big, shiny war on drugs, which mostly involved cracking down on users and dealers with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Instead of helping addicts, they threw them in jail, which was about as effective as smoking indica to boost productivity. Around the same time, there were actually two other drugs that were causing havoc as well: barbiturates and amphetamine, aka speed. On one hand, you had amphetamines, or you might know it by its street name, speed. No, not that speed. That speed, yeah. But why was it called speed? Well, cause one dose of these Chaos Emeralds could get you tweaking around like Sonic. These little fuckers were like rocket fuel. Feeling tired? Pop an amphetamine. Need to lose weight? Amphetamines to the rescue. Trying to stay awake for 3 days straight to grind the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and become an omni-movement god before anyone else? Yup, you guessed it, amphetamines. But after all that speeding around, people needed to come down, and that's where barbiturates came in. These were the downers that help you sleep, relax, or just stop vibrating like a jackhammer. Doctors handed out like candy, thinking they were the perfect solution for everything from anxiety to insomnia. The result? A whole lot of people bouncing between being wide awake and dead asleep, often with a little too much of both. People started getting seriously hooked on this cocktail of uppers and downers, and it turns out when you mix the two, it's a recipe for disaster, like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. Overdoses skyrocketed, and suddenly, the party didn't seem so fun anymore. It was shortly after Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland died from a barbiturate overdose, the government finally decided to step in, cracking down on these pills and making them harder to get. And just like that, America had to find other ways to stay awake or chill out. But now we are arriving to the more well-known controversial epidemics, first of which is the famous crack cocaine epidemic 1980s to 1990s. Crack was like cocaine's cheaper, faster little brother. It was easy to make, easy to get, and way too easy to get hooked on. Think of it as the fast food of drugs. Cheap, quick, and leaving you with serious regrets. Crack hit poor urban neighborhoods the hardest, spreading like crazy. Suddenly, everyone and their mama could afford to get high, and before you knew it, communities were being torn apart by addiction and crime. The government's solution? War on drugs, Infinity War. Okay, that's not what they called it, but I mean, it was technically a sequel to the original War on Drugs. But unlike the Avengers, who went after the big bad guy behind the chaos, it mostly involved locking up minorities, even if they were caught with even a teeny bit of crack. It was like a cruel game of gotcha, where basically everyone lost. Crack is also one of those drugs that if you do it once, it changes the biochemistry of your brain. The euphoria you feel from smoking that shit goes way beyond what the brain can produce itself. So once you get that feeling, your brain will start equating true happiness with smoking crack. That's why even people who are able to quit will most likely never be the same again. If you ask Dave Chappelle, the whole thing was a tragic, darkly ironic mess. He pointed out that when crack hit black communities, the government's response was all about punishment, not help. Fast forward a couple of decades, and when opioids started affecting white communities, suddenly everyone's talking about treatment and compassion. As Chappelle famously joked, it's funny how the tune changes depending on who's affected. The crack epidemic wasn't just a drug crisis, it was a stark lesson on how race and class can influence government response. And while crack might have faded from the headlines, the impact of those years is still being felt today. But before we can get to the current opioid and fentanyl epidemic, we have to quickly skim over the drug best known from a bald cancer patient with a chemistry degree. The meth epidemic, 1990s to present. If you thought Red Bull gives you wings, meth gives you freaking rocket boosters. It's cheap, it's easy to make, and it turns you into a jittery paranoid tweaker real fast. Meth, like everything else in this video, spread like wildfire, especially in rural areas where it became the go-to solution for anyone needing to stay up for days or just looking for a fun time. Before long, meth mouth and tweakers became common sights, and communities were left dealing with the fallout. The government's response cracked down on the ingredients. Suddenly, buying cold medicine felt like trying to smuggle pure Colombian. But despite the regulations, meth didn't go away, it just got sneakier. Hello? Hello, Doc. Yeah, funny story. Basically, everyone in my community, family, and all my friends and shit, you know, they got a nasty cold, so, you know, I'm gonna need, like, all your cold medicine, like every last bit, bruh. Sorry, you don't look very sick to me.
Trust me, doctor. I'm a sick man. Now give me your fucking cold medicine or I'm gonna burn this freaking place down.
Around the same time, there was also the prescription opioid epidemic, but the story there is basically the exact same as the opium one. Only difference being that this time it wasn't technically the government's fault, it was big pharmaceutical companies who convinced doctors that opioids had no side effects and could be prescribed out like Tic Tacs. Spoiler alert, these were some of the most addictive drugs in the universe, and comparable to Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, but only like 1 or 2 stones. Now though, we're gonna talk about what happens when opioid Thanos gets all 6 Infinity Stones. The fentanyl epidemic 2010s to present. Now we're in the 2010s, and if the prescription opioid epidemic was Infinity War, then fentanyl is Endgame. Fentanyl is super potent, like 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. A tiny amount can knock you out, and by knock you out, I mean send you to the gulag where you either clutch it or it's game over, bruh. The scary part, fentanyl is showing up everywhere, often mixed with other drugs like heroin or even cocaine, usually without the user's knowledge. Suddenly, what might have been a manageable, if still bad habit, has become a deadly gamble. One wrong hit, and you're dead. The government has scrambled to respond, focusing on harm reduction, distributing naloxone, an overdose reversal drug, and setting up safe spaces for users. But fentanyl keeps spreading, turning every drug purchase into a potentially fatal decision. The practice of meeting a stranger at the club and bonding over some pure Colombian is really dying out, man. All jokes aside, if the devil is real, then fentanyl is 100% his doing. Out of all the legit hardcore drugs talked about in this video, this makes them seem like some indica weed. Whoever sells fentanyl knowingly should be judged not as a drug dealer, but as a murderer with intent to kill. I'm grasping at straws here, but the only good thing that might come out of this is awareness about the dangers of drugs. And although teenagers are stupid, I'd hope that this crisis might push away would-be first-time drug users, as the chance of literally dying from doing anything is so likely these days, you might as well be playing Russian roulette. And now you have the full overview of American drug epidemics. What did we learn? Well, we might have learned a lot, and I don't know about the government though. Hopefully, I guess.
Smoking alone can be a marvelous time filled with amazing discoveries of the most unexpectedly entertaining things, like YouTube videos about a raspy voiced John Wick lookalike or a bald short guy who is really into psych. But there is a catch to this fantastic ability of solo highs. Every time you consume the za by your lonesome, you are also taking upon the demons that might reside in the grass. And oh boy, because you are alone, you don't have anyone to tell you. Bro, I think the zaza was laced, man. Everything is so intense. I'm low-key bugging out right now. Bro, you're being a total pussy right now. Just chill out and let's go buy some goddamn Doritos. Man, yeah, you're probably right. Let's just go buy some Doritos, I guess. As you can see, it's actually quite nice if you have someone to stop you from falling deep into some stupid paranoid episode. But honestly, this is usually only an issue the first couple times, cause after a while, the grass runs out of tricks, and you can just enjoy the high without being scared of the spooky monsters that could be under your bed. But just to be safe, you should always check. Anyway, one problem I just can't seem to get rid of in my solo high adventures is my damn focus. That thing just seems to flip-flop through everything it comes across. Like, sometimes I find the most banger movie that I am 100% sure I will enjoy the living out of. And then all of a sudden, my brain gets into an entanglement with the leftover box of donuts I have in the fridge. And once something like that happens, it's already too late. Cause I mean, yeah, you could sit there trying to watch the movie pretending like you haven't already spiritually traveled to the fridge where you're feeling the most vivid sensations of what those donuts would taste like. And there you are, thinking about donuts when you switch back to reality and look at the screen in front of you and realize, what the hell is this movie about? It just sucks. So to be honest, I've kinda learned that for the best solo highs, you really gotta just go where the za leads you, cause if you start forcing yourself to do something, it's never fun. Yet one thing I urge you guys to stay away from if you don't wanna feel like a worthless piece of filth at the end of your high is those damn TikToks. Don't get me wrong, I love a bit of short form content, but when you high, that shit is like a bottomless, timeless pit. My dumbass has wasted whole entire highs just mindlessly scrolling all these IG reels, YouTube shorts, TikToks, etc. And it's really awful afterwards, especially if you had planned to watch a movie or play a game, cause then all you can think of is what could have been. To me, it feels almost as bad as planning out a great day of stumbling around suited AF, only to do a wake and bake and shortly after fall into a comatose state where you wake wake up at 6 p.m. all hazy, knowing damn well that you just quite literally wasted not only the whole day, but a whole bunch of Zaza. And for what? To sleep on your bed? Could've done that sober too. Okay, I will admit sometimes when the Za hits you with crazy dreams, it's worth it, but that's really rare. But anyway, as long as you can keep somewhat of a hold over your brain, you'll have a great old time. Some of the best solo highs I've had have always been when I can get into whatever I'm doing, that being a video game, movie, anime, whatever. Although it is tough, cause I guess it's just human nature to want that quick satisfaction from TikTok or whatnot. But a good way to approach those short form apps is once you see an interesting clip, kind of start researching more into it. So for example, if you see a video of let's say some SB Foundation creature that you find dope, instead of scrolling forward, hop on YouTube and start looking at more shit related to that. That way you're not rotting your brain by hopping from subject to subject, and in 2-3 years after the world evolves into a place where the average person's attention span is 2 seconds, you can proudly parade the fact that yours isn't a measly 2 seconds, it's 5. Nah, but I think you get what I mean, and if you want to level up even further from that, instead of entertainment, you can try to study, work, train, etc. whilst high. Although that can be quite tough, but if you can pull it off, I'll tell you about a great investment opportunity. Okay, I'll tell you now, it's a pink gorilla with AirPods. This is the perfect time to get into NFTs and I'm sorry guys, I don't know what happened. I think the spirit of Logan Paul consumed me. Anyway, I think the Zaza is a wonderful thing, as long as you don't abuse it and save it for appropriate times. Buying from the plug is always an experience, cause unless you're super tight with him, you never know if you're gonna get the leftover oregano Reggie pack he scraped from the bottom of his grinder, or if you lucky and the RNG god smile upon you, you might just get the finest organic grass-fed grass there is on planet Earth. But alas, most plugs keep that quality stuff for only the loyalist of customers or new buyers. For me, it was the latter. It begins with me and the main homie Salamander. We had just gotten home from school on a Friday and had scraped our money together for a night of hitting the Spliffington and playing video games. Now, usually it was Salamander who secured the bag, cause I didn't really have too many connects. Unfortunately, this time he was unable to find the holy saw from his usual catalog of plugs. But we didn't let that discourage us, cause we knew if there is a will, there is a way. So both me and Salamander started hitting up everybody we knew who dabbled with the powers of the green plant, and it wasn't looking too good. Altogether, we wrote about 10 people, half of which just ignored us, and the other half just said they were out. So, as we sat there on the couch, hope dwindling, sadness emerging, and worst of all, no Zaza approaching, we were about to call it a day, when one of the dudes who had initially ignored us sent out a beacon of light. Yeah, I know a guy. He just started plugging, so I can't vouch for the quality, but he definitely got some. Now, if you've ever been in a situation like this, you know it is one of the best feelings in the world when you've almost given up, but in the last second, you get that holy text of, yeah, how much? But even though we were pretty stoked, we were also a little bit wary, because this $20 we had saved up was the equivalent of 20 million in today's money, and because this guy was new and no info was given on the quality, we were scared of getting a bag of oregano. And I mean, at the time, we both thought all plugs are grueling gangsters ready to kill you on sight if you so much as make the wrong sound. So if it really was a bag of oregano, there was nothing we could do about it. Anyway, the time comes for us to meet up with this mysterious plug, and the instructions he gave us were to come to this rundown gas station's loading area in the back at 8 p.m. sharp. So we did. As we were standing there at 7:58 p.m., we could only imagine what vicious, heinous, devious killer would come to greet us. So yeah, we hyped him up a little too much, but all that mattered now was the grass and if it was good or not. We went through the usual plug dialogue options like, yo, what's up? Yeah bro, can't wait to get suited today. This that good, etc. Until he finally revealed the grass, and what I witnessed to this day I find absurd. The grass was golden.
NANI?
Not in like shiny gold, but it was this yellowish color with green accents. Beautiful. And the smell. Bro opened that bag up for us to sniff, but it was not necessary, as the smallest opening in that Ziploc baggie consumed the entire area with the finest fragrance imaginable. Oh, okay, well, finest is the wrong word probably. The shit smelled like cat piss, but that's a good thing with Zaza. So we gave up our $20 with no hesitation and returned to Salamander's place with this golden grass of the gods. Now, usually we would just roll up a spliff and consume the za like that. But as this seemed to be legendary material and we didn't want to waste even a single microgram, we made a makeshift can that would allow us to ration this gram to the maximum. So now it was time to hit the za, and it went something like this. Are you ready? Shit, you know it. Here goes nothing. You good, bro? Yeah, you gotta hit this shit, man. Hey, you good? You good, bro? You hear me? You good? Yeah, man, this is some good stuff. This shit was heavenly. It was not of this world, I swear. Now, I'm not sure if it was because our tolerance was pretty much zero at the time, or it was really grass descending from heaven. Probably a mix of both. But one thing I do know, that was the highest I had ever been up until that point. And well, as we know, when you were really high, you don't remember much the night after. So unfortunately, I don't know exactly what we talked about or what we did, but I do remember that we caught a major case of the Joker's laughing gas cause we found everything hilarious. We were so goddamn high, it took us a solid 20 minutes to navigate the PS4 menu to launch our game of Call of Duty. And when we did launch it, we were cognitively impaired. Felt like the controller was inverted or some shit. But safe to say, that Friday night we were truly blessed by the plug. And we went on to exclusively buy from that guy until he stopped plugging 1 month later. But he will always hold a special place in my heart as the plug of plugs.
Strains. There are a lot of great ones. I mean, you got Whoppy Toppy Helicopter Glider, Turtle Hermit Loud, Disco Ninja Shuriken, Long Island Psychosis, Galactic DUI, just fabulous strains that we all know don't exist. Ha! You fell for it. Even though, I don't blame you, cause Crouching Tiger, Hidden Alien, and Gooey Grape Gorilla Glue 4 are real strains that I didn't make up and are just as, if not more ridiculous than Galactic DUI. But did you know there are multiple strains that our forefathers adored? Strains that back in the day were considered the literal holy grail of Zaza, worth their weight in gold, but sadly don't exist anymore. Which, ironically, Acapulco Gold is probably the most famous and sad cases of this phenomenon. Why? Well, let me tell you about it for the sake of science and education. See, back in the 1960s, when most people were smoking mystery backyard oregano, Acapulco Gold showed up looking like it came from heaven's greenhouse. It wasn't just strong, it was beautiful. Golden orange buds covered in resin, smelling like honey and spice. It looked expensive before you even lit it. The fade was what really sealed the deal. Clean, euphoric, and energizing. It didn't melt you into the couch, it made you feel alive. Artists, hippies, musicians, everyone loved it because it fueled creativity instead of killing it. You could write poetry, play guitar, or question capitalism all in one sitting. And then there was the mystique. You couldn't just go buy Acapulco Gold anywhere. It came from a small coastal region in Guerrero, Mexico, son. So when it did show up in the States, it was like treasure. Plugs bragged about having it, magazines wrote about it, even pop culture icons name dropped it. Basically, Acapulco Gold was the first celebrity strain. It represented everything people imagined good grass could be. Exotic, natural, and untouchably elite. So what happened to it? In short, the DEA happens. By the late 1970s, the US government decided Mexico was exporting a little too much happiness and launched a series of eradication campaigns. The most infamous was Operation Condor, basically translated to Let's Napalm Paradise. Entire fields of Acapulco Gold were burned, sprayed, or bulldozed out of existence. Local farmers who'd spent generations perfecting those golden genetics either fled or switched to faster growing high-yield hybrids to survive. Within a few years, the original line, the real sun-curd, honey-scented Acapulco Gold, was gone. What's left today are hybrids borrowing the name for nostalgia points. Goddamn. Yo, see, I know how much you love the za. Well, I think you love it more. So I got us, the last remaining Acapulco Gold. Bruh, there's no way. It doesn't exist anymore. It was all burned by Reagan and the boys. Nah, man. My plug Dave told me his grandpa was actually a part of Operation Condor, and he said that just before they napalmed everything, he took a few seeds, and well, He's been growing it in his basement ever since. Of course, he did charge a premium, but I mean, who wouldn't? I hate to break it to you, but the only thing growing in Dave's house is his appetite for crack cocaine. Man, whether Dave is a crackhead or not, it don't change the fact I got this.
Bruh, that ain't Acapulco gold. That's Acapulco mold, son.
While the DEA were out in Mexico burning that pure natural Zaza, the government was also allegedly cooking up an abomination in a lab. That strain was called G13. According to legends, sometime in the 1970s, the US government, maybe the CIA, maybe the FBI, maybe just a group of very bored scientists, decided to make the perfect za. The story goes that they gathered the best genetics from all around the world, Afghani Indicas, Thai Sativas, Colombian Golds, and started crossbreeding them in a top secret lab at the University of Mississippi, which, fun fact, really was the only place allowed to grow for research. Out of those experiments came one plant that supposedly outsmoked the rest, Government Indica 13, or G13 for short. It was rumored to be so strong that even agents testing it couldn't handle it. The high was heavy, the THC was off the charts, and the legend says one rogue scientist smuggled a cutting out of the lab and released it to the public, basically doing God's work. Now, officially the government says none of this ever happened, which of course makes it sound way more real. Whether it was a lab-grown super strain or just a really good story, G13 became a myth that outlasted most of the people who smoked it. If it was true, the original clone is long gone, lost to time and bad breeding, but its name still shows up on dispensary menus. The only difference, the one in your local shop probably wasn't made by the CIA. Seems like the government really enjoyed destroying Zaza, but there was one strain that didn't need any help. It destroyed itself. A self-inflicted extinction born from pure success. That strain was called Roadkill Skunk. A name that was apparently not an exaggeration because people said it really did smell like actual roadkill. We're talking next level stench, the kind of smell that could end relationships, clear a room, or make your mailman file a complaint. But behind that horrifying aroma was one of the most powerful and unique strains of its time. Heavy, sticky, knockout grass that could flatten even better in tokers. Old school growers swore by it, saying you could smell it before you could see it, like the world's most illegal air freshener. Then legalization started creeping in, neighbors got sensitive, and dispensaries wanted approachable terps. You know, fruity, sweet, smells like a smoothie type za. Nobody wanted their living room to reek like a biology project gone wrong, so growers started crossing and breeding the smell out of it, toning it down, making it civilized, and somewhere along the way, they erased the original. No DEA raid, no government lab, just society deciding that weed was too loud, bro. Now, anything labeled skunk is basically a domesticated descendant. Polite, perfumed, deodorized, the real roadkill skunk is gone, a victim of its own success. Proof that sometimes being unforgettable means you don't get invited back. But there's one more strain that went extinct, not because the DEA torched it, not because it smelled like roadkill, but because it was just too damn high maintenance. The diva of weed, always craving attention, affection, and 5 months of your undivided love. And eventually, growers did what any exhausted partner would do. They moved on to the neighborhood hoe. That strain was Nivell's Haze. Created in the late 80s by legendary breeder Nivell Schoenmakers, this was its equivalent of a genius artist. Brilliant, beautiful, and completely insufferable. The high was electric, euphoric, borderline psychedelic. Smokers said it could launch you straight into the astral plane, but to get there, growers had to wait 16 to 20 weeks for it to flower, double the time of normal strains. At first, that patience paid off. It became one of the most respected sativas ever bred, but as the industry got faster and greedier, Nivell's Haze couldn't keep up. Why nurture a moody genius when you can grow 2 rounds of easy hybrids that print cash? By the 2000s, the real cut was basically gone, replaced by quicker, simpler haze strains that lacked the magic but gained the efficiency. Nivell's Haze didn't die in a blaze of DEA napalm, it just got ghosted. Proof that in the za world, even legends can get left on red. The age-old question, one that has been pondered for centuries, if not millennia. A question so important to every za enjoyer, it might as well be used to determine your whole entire personality. You've got $70 left, no food, nowhere to stay, you're basically homeless, and worst of all, you just realized you're out of bud. Here lies the turning point. You are faced with a decision that could genuinely shape your future, a choice filled with deep financial, emotional, and spiritual calculations. What do you do with your $70? Do you secure a motel for the night, get a meal, pick up a respectable outfit, and prepare for your prestigious job interview at McDonald's? Or, let's be real, do you grab an exotic eighth of that premium Blastopax Sativa, or go full primal and choose a knockout Indicano guaranteed to have you munching behind a Cinnabon like a pastry-seeking raccoon? Choose wisely because... never mind. Too late. You went Indo. And there you are, happily crouched in a Cinnabon dumpster, stuffing your face with expired cinnamon goodness like it's a Michelin star tasting menu. Low-key gotta respect it. But how did I know you chose the Indicano Reggiano Special? Science, education, advanced Zaza analytics? That's also why I'm making this video, to educate the public. Because through my rigorous research and highly sophisticated data points, we know around 70 to 80% of Zaza enthusiasts prefer Indiana Jones over Super Saiyan. A lot of that has to just do with the fact that people tend to use the sacred salad most for relaxing, sparking the munchies, and eventually falling asleep mid-YouTube video about ancient civilizations or raccoons with human hands. You made the statistically correct decision. Congratulations. But 20 to 30% of you probably did choose San Antonio, and to you I say congratulations too, for you are truly a rare breed of Zaza connoisseur who actually gets things done. A productivity enjoyer, a visionary, the type to wake and bake at 8 a.m., experience temporary enlightenment, and then spend the next 5 hours shrining art graders with the determination of a medieval blacksmith forging a legendary blades. The highest of honors. The rest of us are in a bakery dumpster, and you're out here achieving greatness and collecting digital loot like a functioning adult with questionable priorities. Anyway, we all knew Indiana is more popular than Saudi Arabia, but that brings up the real question. Why are they even different when almost everything these days is technically a hybrid anyway? Well, that's where terpenes come in. Yes, terpenes, the magical little aroma chemicals that dictate whether you end up inventing a business idea at 2 p.m. or inventing a sandwich made of Oreos. Because the real puppet masters aren't the names, it's the terpenes. Tiny aromatic gremlins that decide whether you become a philosopher, a productivity machine, or a sentient couch cushion. Some terpenes say,
let's go on an adventure, write a screenplay, start a podcast, and build a cryptocurrency nobody asked for.
Others say,
Blanket snack sleep. Do not move.
Let's break down the main culprits, starting with the Indicano Coded Sedative Squad. Myrcene, earthy, musky. I think my limbs are made of soup now. Myrcene is the couch lock terp, responsible for turning your body into melted dessert cheese and your bed into a spiritual destination, mostly found in Indicano leaning strains. Linalool, floral, lavender, sleepy time tea energy. This terp pulls up like,
relax, King. Overthinking is for tax accountants.
expect calm, comfort, and eventually unconsciousness. Another Indicano leaning terp. Beta caryophyllene, peppery, warm, anti-anxiety vibes. Great for chilling, comfort, food summoning, and acting like your joints suddenly paid their student loans. Common in Indicano leaners, though hybrids use it a ton now too. Now let's look at the Satovia associated terps, like limonene, citrus bright. I suddenly have life goals. Makes you want to reorganize your entire life, start a business, or clean the kitchen for no reason. We'll trick you into believing you're productive until you realize you spent 3 hours playing video games. Still fun though. Painine, tastes like pine trees slapped you awake. Clear-headed, alert, focused until you forget what you were focusing on. Mostly Satovia associated, gives forest walk in your frontal cortex vibes. Great for thinking, not great for shutting up. Terpillinine, fruity, floral, chaotic, fairy dust energy. The terp equivalent of chugging 2 matcha lattes and deciding to reinvent yourself. Common in Satovia dominant genetics. If your brain feels like it drank a coffee and then joined a jazz band, that's terpinoline saying hello. Woo! And now you know about all the terpenes that actually matter. The things that actually make Indicano, Indicano, and Satovia, Sadovia. The true puppeteers behind whether you become a blanket burrito philosopher or a motivational speaker for exactly 47 minutes before the energy evaporates and you start gaming. But the question still remains.
Which is better than, bro?
And yes, I know, it depends is the boring adult answer. If you want to get KO'd watching South Park for the 30th time, obviously you reach for the Indicano 9000. Same way if you want to actually get stuff done, you don't smoke at all. Until you convince yourself just a little puff for creativity because you're responsible and disciplined and totally not lying to yourself. So you spark that Satoshi Nakamoto strain and prepare to build the future. And then spend 3 hours watching YouTube. But situational isn't satisfying. We need a champion, a winner. So let's rephrase the test. You must choose one, Indicano, Hybrid, or Satovia, to blaze forever. Which do you pick? Let's think like scientists here. Real academic excellence, peer-reviewed wisdom, peers being the boys, Indica. Amazing until you realize your daily routine becomes eat, melt, sleep, repeat, wake up as a walking couch cushion. Repeat. Satovia. Great until you accidentally unlock anxiety mode because your heart remembered it's a muscle and decided to announce its existence. So the only logical answer when you zoom out and pretend you're doing a TED talk on Zaza optimization is the middle path, the hybrid. It's the strain for people who want to chill without dissolving and think without overthinking themselves into a philosophical emergency. Hybrids let you relax enough to not spiral about life, but stay awake enough to actually live it. It's balanced. I like being functional but also soft around the edges option. The strain equivalent of drinking water instead of a Red Bull or a NyQuil smoothie. And honestly, the real final form isn't just hybrid, it's hybrid supported by cannabinoids like CBG and CBD. That's the emotionally stable loadout. THC gives you liftoff, but CBG keeps your brain clear and focused, while CBD quietly pats your nervous system on the back and tells it to calm down. Together, they turn the experience from, I am a baked potato, or, my thoughts are sprinting the 100-meter dash, man, into something like, I am a respectable human being who can chill, create, think, eat, socialize, and maybe even fold laundry in the same day. That combination is the true adult Zaza setup, the one that gives you the vibe without the crash, the creativity without the chaos, and the peace without the paralysis. The hybrid plus CBD framework isn't about blasting off or melting down, it's about cruising through life in eco mode with snacks. So there you have it, the winner is hybrid, who would have thought? But still, in reality, what you're blazing depends on the situation, so make sure you let me know which one you prefer in the comments, peace! The perfect high. A mythical experience, a rare moment in time where everything aligns and your brain briefly achieves Zen. For decades, no, centuries, scientists have tried to figure out the formula, the equation, the math behind the perfect high. Einstein even took a swing at it, proposing E equals MC squared, or experience equals method times Cannabis squared. This was later accepted as a foundational law explaining how the universe works, just in a slightly different context than he intended. Now, the perfect high isn't really something you can measure, it's more of a concept than a measurable existence. It has just as much to do with your mindset, emotional state, and what you're doing as it does with the Zaza itself. In fact, achieving it requires such precise alignment across so many areas of life that the Declaration of Independence literally guarantees every human the right to pursue it. They call it the pursuit of happiness. Now, for all my fellow explorers who still haven't experienced this phenomenon, don't worry, I'm here to help. Because even though everybody's perfect high requires different prerequisites, the underlying concept is always the same. And unlike Einstein, who proposed his equation, I'm here to propose a different one, a superior one. You could even say this makes my brain superior to Einstein's. Hey, your words, not mine. So what's the formula? How did I come up with it, and why is it disturbingly legit? Well, for the sake of science, education, and let's be real, the furtherment of mankind, I'll explain all of it. So, without further ado, E equals T times ES plus A minus T, which sounds like absolute gibberish until it doesn't. Let's break down what each of these letters actually means and why this formula makes perfect, complete sense. E stands for experience, the high itself. The experience is what you actually remember. The perfect high isn't, I was extremely faded and therefore it was fun. It's when the memory itself is good and the high just upgrades it from a regular memory to a core memory. That's the goal. Not being obliterated, being present present in something worth amplifying. T is for terpenes. Yes, shocking. The Zaza you're sparking matters. I know, revolutionary. But this variable is crucial because terpenes don't exist in isolation. They need to change depending on the other factors in the equation. There is no universal terpene profile that magically works every time. Different moods, different plans, different mental states require different chemistry. Trying to force one strain of lettuce to work for everything isn't science. It's lazy. ES stands for emotional state. This one is non-negotiable. How you feel before you spark up is exactly how you're going to feel, just louder. If you're already overthinking and then you spark some introspective philosophical za the day after your girlfriend leaves you, bro, you already know how that ends. What did I do wrong? Why didn't I see it coming? Am I ever going to love again? Yeah. Your emotional state must be taken into account when choosing between a couch-locking Indicano or a universal ponderer Satovia. Otherwise, you're not getting faded, you're scheduling a mental spiral. A stands for activity. What are you planning to do after sparking up? Watch a movie, play a game, go for a walk, scroll brain rot, do homework, plan your escape from the Matrix? Because here's the thing, grass is an amplifier. It amplifies your emotions, your thoughts, and your fun. So if you're about to do something complicated, you probably don't want a strain that turns you into a melted Snickers bar. At the same time, if you're watching Family Guy, you probably don't want some heady lettuce that has you contemplating the meaning of life and your mortality during a cutaway gag. And finally, the second T, time, as in time of day. This one should be obvious, but just in case, let's say you spark up some heavy Satovia, super lemon haze, nighttime, vibes are perfect. You watch your show, play your game, everything hits. Now it's time to sleep. Except you can't. Your brain is doing 100 miles per hour like your plug laced your grass with Adderall. Now the night isn't remembered as legendary, it's remembered as the night you discovered insomnia. Same thing in reverse. You spark some Indicano Reggiano during the day, planning to link with the home dogs, but now the thought of standing up feels physically impossible. Sure, you might enjoy binging Stranger Things Season 5 in the moment, but once the high fades and your friends start snapping pics with the baddies, yeah, that's when you're suddenly watching videos titled, How I Quit Smoking Zaza and Got My Life Together. But to truly understand this magical formula, you need to hear about one of the rare times I personally achieved Zen. A moment where the universe aligned perfectly and I reached full Zaza Nirvana. The terps were from a strain I had recently fallen in love with, Biscotti. If you know, you know. The entire vibe of that lettuce was chill. As in, kick back, do something low energy but stimulating, and just exist. Which lined up perfectly with my emotional state. I had worked out 3 days in a row, just finished making one of these amazing videos, and mentally it felt like Friday night after clocking out of a job I don't actually have. For the activity, I went with a double whammy. I booted up an incredible game called Black Ops 7. Okay, apparently everyone hates it, but I didn't know that yet. Ignorance truly is bliss. And while gaming, I ordered Chipotle, which felt less like food and more like a scheduled delivery from the heavens themselves. And the time of day, obviously nighttime. A classic CBD bro night goblin gaming plus munch session. Textbook. Would I call it my best high ever? No. But for what it was, with every variable lined up, it was absolutely perfect. No worries, no sudden emergency quests popped up, no spirals into the overall point of life, just faded and sweating my balls off to stay barely positive on the game. What a great time. Now, you might be thinking, you're just a lazy stoner. That would have been a so-called perfect high, no matter what. And if this were a courtroom and I were the defendant, this is where I'd want my lawyer to stand up and yell, "Objection!" Because I don't just believe this, I know it. If even one of those variables was off, that fade would have been anything but perfect. For example, replace my emotional state, which was chill, with my usual default setting, grind mode. Instead of gaming stress-free, I'd be checking my phone every 10 minutes thinking, one more game, one more, then I'll start working. Instant vibe killer. Replace the time of day, night, with daytime, and suddenly I'm hit with random side quests like pick up grandma.
plasma, help with groceries, clean your room. Again, total vibe kill. Now replace the terps with something more energizing. Not only is there a high chance of light insomnia, but now I'm also frustrated because I'm getting absolutely slapped in the game instead of calmly accepting my fate, pulling out the cheesy automatic fire shotgun and camping without a single care in the world. So there you have it, the perfected formula. Einstein would be proud. The evolution, or perhaps the de-evolution of grass. From nature's favorite plant to humanity's frontal cortex scrambler, today we're diving deep into how the za went from balanced foliage to bioengineered potent lettuce, all in the name of science and education. And by the end of this, you'll finally understand why every old head looks at modern za and says, "That ain't the Lord's loud boy.
That's the devil's lettuce."
What do I mean by that? Well, let me set the scene. The year is 1967. It's the summer of love in San Francisco, California. Thousands of young people are pulling up to the city in hopes of finding inner peace, new music, and an altered state of mind. A group of wide-eyed college kids link up with a guy who, according to legend, is slinging some exotic spiritual third-eye opening Zaza, the true symbol of peace. Enter Charles Zachary III, local Zaza pug. He reaches into his bag and dramatically reveals some oregano-looking greenery. The students lean in, sniff it, and say, "Oh yes, that's some fine lettuce you got there, sir." They cough up $3, which was actual money back then, and head off to their hippie van to fuel up for their night's hippie drum circle. First J ever, the whole bag gone in one sitting, and guess what? Nobody greened out, nobody had an existential meltdown. Why? Because that so-called exotic was rocking about 1% THC, maybe 2% CBD. Honestly, it was more common than mind-blowing, the original balanced strain. Fast forward to 2025, same scenario, 3 newbies hop in a Tesla Model Y with a bag of modern exotic, infused 48% T, 0.0001% CBD. You're not getting peace, love, and harmony out of that van, bro. You're getting silence, paranoia, and 3 people glued to that big, fat, beautiful screen. Now, don't get me wrong, no disrespect to modern za. I love me some stare at the microwave while your hot pocket spins and you question your existence highs, but the problem is, that's basically all we've got left. See, thanks to capitalism and the wonderful cycle of supply and demand, the market did what the market does best, chase the strongest product possible. People wanted that high T grass, so for the past half century, growers have been selectively breeding for maximum THC. Every new generation of bud got stronger, flashier, louder, and somewhere along the line, CBD, the chill little molecule that used to balance it all out, got completely left behind. The unsung hero of the za basically got bred out of existence to the point of you potentially having to go on a nationwide quest just to find a balanced strain. So, how did we get here? Well, it all started at 1960s, the flower power era. Average potency 1 to 2% T, 1 to 2% C. The 1960s were when cannabis first hit mainstream culture, not as a drug, but as a statement. It was rebellion rolled up in paper. The summer of love turned San Francisco into the epicenter of peace signs, guitar solos, and people who thought wearing shoes was a capitalist construct. Grass back then was imported brick buds, mostly from Mexico, Colombia, or Thailand, stuffed with stem seeds and enlightenment. The average potency around 1% T, sometimes stretching to 2 if the stars aligned and your plug had international connections, son. But it wasn't all that weak. It was balanced. There was nearly as much CBD as THC, which kept the high mellow and manageable. You could smoke a whole J talking about ending the Vietnam War and still remember where you parked your van. It wasn't about getting obliterated. It was about expanding consciousness, or at least trying to figure out why your friend had been staring at a lava lamp for 45 minutes. This was the hippie za, nature's peace pipe, or by today's standards, basically oregano. But back then, anything you got was the bomb. 1970s, hippie hangover. Average potency 2 to 3% T, about 1% C. The flower power dream didn't die overnight. It just got groovier. The 1970s carried the cultural hangover of the 60s, where everyone still preached peace and love, but now they did it while debating which Pink Floyd album sounded better high. Grass quality improved slightly. People started cultivating locally and importing better strains like Panama Red or Acapulco Golds, names that sounded luxurious even though the average potency
Potency was still around 2 to 3% THC with a little CBD still floating around. Za was social. You'd pass a J around, everybody got a turn, and nobody coughed like they were dying. You didn't have to warn your friend,
Take a small hit, bro, this shit's crazy.
the worst thing that could happen was zoning out during a record flip or getting too deep in a conversation about the moon landing being fake. In short, grass was still a group experience. The goal wasn't to escape reality, just to make it funnier. Until the 1980s. War on drugs and rise of hydroponic cultivation. Average potency, 3 to 4% T, around 0.5% C. The 1980s, Reagan, neon hair, metal music, and the war on drugs. The US government declared an all-out war on cannabis, complete with just say no commercials that made it sound like a gateway to eternal damnation. Ironically, this crackdown made grass stronger. Smugglers got smarter, growers went underground, literally, and indoor cultivation started taking off. Hydroponics, high-pressure sodium lights, and nutrient formulas became the new weapon of peace. Average potency crept up to 3 to 4% T, but CBD started vanishing. The goal shifted. No one cared about balance anymore. They wanted potency that could justify the risk of, going to jail. Za in the 80s was a statement and a felony. If you were smoking, you were either a rebel or a roadie. The high was still manageable, but definitely sharper. The kind of za that made you think your answering machine was talking to you, goddamn. This was the decade where cannabis evolved from hippie habit to countercultural sports, and it took off even more in the 1990s, the chronic era. Average potency 5 to 8% T, usually under 0.3% C. By the 90s, the underground growers had perfected their craft. Hydro was booming, genetics from Amsterdam were spreading, and suddenly the world was introduced to names like Northern Lights, Skunk One, and White Widow. Average T levels climbed to around 5 to 8%, which doesn't sound like much now, but back then it hit different. Mostly because CBD had dropped below 0.3%. That balance the 60s had gone. Now it was smoke first, ask questions later. And culturally, this was the chronic era. Dr. Dre turned za into a brand, Snoop turned it into a lifestyle. Smoking wasn't taboo anymore. It was cool. Blunts replaced J's and people started measuring time in hot boxes. You could still function, but now you felt it. This was the first time people really started greening out. The first time you got that, oh no, I might be too high, man. But it was still mostly chill. You just laugh too hard, eat an entire box of cereal, and call it night. The 90s were the bridge, the sweet spot before cannabis went full Super Saiyan. The 2000s. Kush takeover. Average potency 8 to 12% T, usually under 0.2% C. Welcome to the 2000s, the birth of the modern weed economy. OG Kush, AK-47, Blue Dream Sour Diesel strains that became household names. Everybody knew a guy who grew his own, and dispensaries were starting to pop up in California. Average T levels hovered between 8 to 12%, and CBD practically extinct. By now, cannabis wasn't just a plant, it was a product. Growers started competing for higher THC numbers because that's what sold. Grass reviews became like wine tastings, notes of citrus, diesel, and mild ego death. This was the decade when people realized weed wasn't the same anymore. The highs were more intense, the paranoia started showing up, and tolerance became a full-time job. You didn't need to smoke a J, one strong hit could send you on a vision quest. It was the golden age of Kush culture. Everyone was high, but somehow also stressed about it. Which that stress kind of started fading in the 2010s, the legalization boom. Average potency 15 to 20% T, usually under 0.1 C. Then came the 2010s, the green rush. Legalization swept across states, dispensaries exploded, and suddenly weed had branding, merch, and loyalty programs. Average T levels jumped again. 15 to 20% was now considered standard. The CBD in most recreational strains basically non-existent. Growers had bred plants for pure potency, creating buzz that could probably power a small drone. This was when grass science went corporate. You had flower, concentrates, dabs, wax, shatter, live resin, weed so strong it came with its own vocabulary. The line between I'm chillin' and I can feel colors got thinner every year. It was the era of customization, but ironically, almost no one was choosing balance. Everyone wanted the highest T possible, not realizing we basically erased the chill molecule
natural CBD that kept the experience grounded. Which brings us to the 2020s, the Zaza age. Average potency 25 to 35% T, maybe one lonely CBD molecule floating around. And now we've arrived, the Zaza age, the final form of cannabis, the endgame boss of botany. Weed isn't just strong anymore, it's engineered. Every nug looks like it's grown in a NASA clean room under 24-hour supervision by a dude who calls himself a terpene artist. Dispensary menus, bro, they sound like a fully optioned out car. 28% T, live resin infused keef, dust and solventless Syrahs and finished 3.5 G of pure enlightenment. Your average flower today clocks in between 25 to 35% T, and that's just your everyday gas station level loud. The real heavy hitters infuse pre-rolls, moon rocks, concentrates, casually push 45 to 80% T, bruh. CBD, practically gone. A rounding error in the lab results. The compound that once mellowed the ride got quietly bred out of existence. The MySpace of cannabinoids. Forgotten, but foundational. And the experience? It's intense. We used to be exclusively about connection, creativity, and relaxation. Now it's about surviving the eddy you thought didn't hit yet. You don't pass around herbal relief anymore. You pass around that loud. But here's the thing. We might not even fully understand how strong ZA has become because everyone's tolerance has skyrocketed. The average daily smoker today could outsmoke an entire 1980s drum circle and still finish a burrito after. Back then, 1J was an event. Now it's a warm-up. So when a casual or first-time user grabs a modern exotic, they're not easing into a mellow buzz, they're entering the quantum realm. And sure, there are still balanced options, CBD forward strains, 1-to-1 hybrids, low T flower, but they're the minority. Most dispensary shelves are designed for one thing only, maximum impact. The louder the better. The industry keeps feeding the same loop, higher T, lower CBD, stronger hits because that's what sells. Of course, people did get anxious and paranoid from weed back in the day too. That's not new, but the risk was lower. Today with THC concentration several times higher and CBD nearly absent, the chance of panic attacks, anxiety, or even short-term psychosis is significantly increased, especially for first-timers or people who don't smoke often. It's like the difference between sipping a beer and chugging a bottle of vodka. Technically the same category, but a very different evening. Modern ZA doesn't just take you on a trip, it catapults you into orbit and then hands you a mirror halfway up. It's impressive, it's profitable, and it's a little terrifying. The same plant that once fueled Woodstock now also fuels anxiety, Uber Eats orders, and psychological crises over microwave timers. But hey, who am I to say if we've de-evolved or evolved? Make sure you comment down your opinion below, and until next time, peace! The first high, a core memory, and whether you enjoyed it or not doesn't really matter, because for 95% of people, their first time literally shapes their entire opinion on the grass. Almost everybody who isn't age 50 or over and says, weed is the work of the devil, and should be more illegal than even meth. Well, actually it is. The ZA is Schedule 1 and meth is Schedule 2, so... Yeah, that's right. That's why I love America. Greatest damn country in the world.
USA! USA! USA!
Anyway, what I was saying was that most people who tweak their first time are put off by it for a while and shape into ZA haters, and people who have fun their first time, believe it or not, don't all become mindless junkies who eat Little Caesars and watch SpongeBob all day. Rather, when asked their opinion on weed, they'll probably just say,
My stomach turned into an endless void with an unquenchable hunger for anything edible, which was followed by a sleepiness so uncontrollable I passed out halfway into my 25th Twinkie. It was pretty fun.
So obviously me, CBD bro, who runs an entire YouTube channel dedicated to the green plant, must have had the latter experience, right? Well, not really. As you see, when I was but a wee lad, uncontaminated by the forbidden fruits of the world like alcohol, nicotine, and yes, weed, always believed that alcohol makes you homeless, nicotine makes you a little bitch, and weed makes you lazy. Thinking that, I didn't want to waste not just my first high, but my very first time feeling anything besides normal on eating Doritos and watching Family Guy. Which, after turning 17, I decided it was about time I lost my substance virginity, and planned to do so on Christmas dinner, where I was gonna let El Marijuana put its big, fat, thick, juicy, delicately rolled J in my mouth, but only after I had eaten, as I believed if my tummy was full, I wouldn't get the munchies and could instead contemplate the meaning of life my time high. And thankfully, I had an older brother who was more than willing to give me a puff or two from his Christmas dinner J for $4, the fucking cheapskate. So we went upstairs and started puffing, which ResX was instantly bamboozled from the magic grass. Nice, it's not a dud. Now it's my turn. I grabbed the J and puffed until I could puff no more. And the result was, I didn't feel a damn thing. Still had to pay the $4 though. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, as we went through the day, I got increasingly more jealous of my brother, who by his words was fried AF. I was beginning to think maybe I'm immune to getting high, which after telling my brother this theory, he concluded that I'm stupid and just didn't inhale the za in my lungs, and so generously told me to follow him upstairs where he gave me a couple more puffs for an extra $4, the damn venture capitalist. As I was smoking away, keeping in mind to inhale it all the way down to my lungs, I still wasn't feeling anything, and my hopes of getting fried AF were beginning to look more like a distant dream. When I finished puffing, I sat down at the computer to look at some of those watch while high videos, and my brother asked me, "So, you feel anything now?" No, I don't. What's this weird I'm not sure. I don't know, seems to me you're fried like some Kentucky chicken, boy. I was indeed fried, and incredibly so. Although I didn't smoke a ton, my body had never experienced anything besides a sugar rush and maybe a caffeine kick. So as I was watching this watch while you're high video, I was laughing at everything and was tripping the fuck out. But not in a bad way, it was freaking amazing. Being high was what I always imagined it to be until... bloop. I'm sober again. Yeah, you heard right. My first high lasted like 30 seconds, and in an instant, I was back to normal, which I don't know why. Even to this day, when I tell people about this, nobody can relate because no one has experienced this phenomenon. But since I'm a scientist, I have developed a super duper concrete theory backed by quantum mechanics and the late great Stephen Hawking on my experience, and overall the reason why a lot of people who smoke their first time don't feel anything. I theorize that all humans have a natural block against foreign substances, a wall per se, and when an individual inhales za, the particles act kind of like micromissiles targeting your cannabinoid receptors. For the people whose defensive wall is strong enough, it will stop all perpetrators attempting to infiltrate your brain. But this wall isn't regeneratable, so if the micromissiles fail to get you fried at first, the next time they'll have an easier time against your already damaged wall of defense. Now, I bet you're thinking to yourself, this mofo been smoking too much of that Einstein pack. And to you, I say maybe, but also I have practical proof of this theory. I used to be a pro baller, and one day me and a couple hooper friends who all have great immune systems and therefore probably good za defensive walls decided to smoke up, and to my buddies, it was their first time. Once we lit the J and passed it around, I made sure to tell everybody to inhale the smoke in their lungs, which I'm pretty sure they all did, but still, I was the only one who got high, cause it wasn't my first time. But when I smoked up with some of my non-athlete first-timer friends, they all got high like normal. So, conclusion, defensive saw wall is a real thing and I stand by my theory. Anyway, although that was my first time feeling high, I wouldn't call it my first high because it only lasted for half a minute. My first real high experience was something even more memorable and etched to my brain until I die. A couple weeks after the last incident, me and RizX decided it was about damn time I actually felt the true loving touch of the Mary Jane. And this time, instead of having only scraps of za, we bought a whole gram to hopefully destroy my highly speculative za wall. I think it's real. Also, at this time, we were obsessed with freestyle rapping, so we decided the plan of action was to smoke up, eat candy, and rap battle to copyright-free beats while recording it so we could listen to our unreleased tracks in the morning. Since our parents were away for the night, we got the whole apartment to ourselves and planned on rolling 2 Js, both containing 0.5 Gs. But we had this old-ass plastic grinder with
which as we were grinding, the teeth broke, so we had to use the good old scissors in a cup method, which this would have never happened if we had instead one of the metal CBD bro grinders. Since we were petrified at the thought of getting caught blazing, instead of being sensible and smoking the J's near a window and just blowing the smoke out, we put our jackets on and walked 500 feet away from the apartment to light up, just to be sure that there wouldn't even be a microfiber of evidence that we were smoking the devil's lettuce. As we were consuming the J, all I could hope for was that this time I wouldn't just get a limited free trial, but the actual full version. But alas, when we finished puffing the J, I again felt nothing, or at least that's what I thought, cause as we arrived back home, I finally realized that,
So you feeling it? Yeah, kinda.
sometimes the high hits you a couple minutes later, especially if you're going from outdoors to indoors as we did. And my highly accepted theory in the science community about this phenomenon is that through evolution, we have always considered indoors to be our safe zone and outdoors dangerous. Therefore, when you're outside, your brain doesn't allow the full faded and relaxed effect to take over, probably in anticipation of a roadman coming and chefing you up with the mandem. Okay, this one I'm not so confident in, and I have to come clean. I am in no shape or form associated with the science community. Yet. Anyway, now that we were high and in the living room, we started putting on some beats and freestyling, and to this day, I have yet to replicate the skill and precision of my flow that high. It's hard to explain, but nowadays, I can't rap for shit. I mean, I'll spit one line and be like, yo, I've been getting money making racks, cause you know I'm flipping packs. That's facts. Yeah, that's it. Basically, I run out of rhymes pretty fast, but that day, I did not. In fact, even when my brain had nothing to say, my mouth rapped it for me. I turned into a freestyling robot and became dead sure that I was gonna make it out by dropping a mixtape and becoming a famous rapper. Until we listened to the recording in the morning and realized, yo, flowing on the go, your girl she a hoe, making money dancing with a pole, my girl making dough while doing lines of blow, cause we in the penthouse baby, living life, and that's for show.
Yeah, I'll try YouTube instead.
What's crazy though is that after that, I was never able to replicate the auto-rapping again, so my rap career never flowered, but who knows, maybe I'll try to convert this channel into lyric videos and shitposting, all while steadily alienating my audience and killing my channel. Or maybe I should just make a separate channel for that?
We all know navigating the wild world of strains is complicated. Like, yeah, some are supposed to be good. Everyone's heard of gelato, but what the hell is gelato? Why is it so special compared to some random generic sounding strain called Tropicana Reggie? Well, long story short, it all comes down to these tiny chemical gremlins called terpenes. They're the little flavor goblins that set the tone of your zone. And a good strain, that's basically when a specific mix of terpenes happens to hit in just the right way, and enough people collectively agree, yeah, this combo goes crazy, bro. As more and more people start studying the sacred art of the forbidden lettuce, they realize something. Not all grass hits the same. You start noticing patterns, like every time I smoke gelato, I'm chill, relaxed, maybe even a little poetic. But every time I smoke Dopa Loca Coca, I'm having fun until halfway through I start rethinking every decision I've ever made. Weird. And that's how it happens. One good experience, one consistent vibe, one damn, this gelato always hits right moment at a time. Boom. You just helped build gelato's rep in the strain world. But here's the problem that comes with clout. With it comes people trying to use it to their advantage. Because for every real gelato, there's 5 dudes out there trying to make a quick buck off its name. They'll use its hype against you, the innocent, curious, naive explorer who just wanted some premium za. You'll be looking at the menu, scrolling through the options, and there it is. Oh snap, gelato? I've heard a rapper mention that once. It's only 20 bucks an eighth? Of course, bruh. But the harsh truth, that's not gelato. That's the leftovers, the unsold mids, the bottom shelf bud that's been reborn through the sacred art of false labeling. They slap a shiny gelato name on it and suddenly it's flying off the shelves faster than a too good to be true Black Friday deal. But here's the good news. Fake gelato doesn't always mean bad za. Most of the time it's still decent, maybe even good. It's just
inconsistent. One batch might have you chilling like a monk in a candlelit spa, and the next might have you cleaning your kitchen at 3 a.m., questioning your childhood. It's not that the grass is bad, it's just that the strain name doesn't mean much anymore. You're not buying gelato, you're buying a dude's interpretation of gelato. And that's why knowing your terpenes, genetics, and real cultivars actually matters, so you can tell the difference between hype buds and real deal legacy strains that hit the same every time. So, for the sake of science, education, and dare I even say the furtherment of mankind, I present to you the ultimate guide to strains. We're breaking down what's actually out there, from the real budget strains that stay consistent and won't break the bank, to the mid-tier Zaza for when you want to splurge a bit. Maybe it's a special occasion, you just hit level 50 on Borderlands 4 and you're looking for that reliable to even semi-exotic high. And finally, the premium exotics that make you stare at the price tag like, who in their right mind would spend 120 bucks on an eighth? Well, not people in their right mind, but the ones chasing that, I gotta try it once to see if the hype is real kind of high. And yeah, some of those strains are genuinely worth it, but the real reason to know them isn't to flex, it's to make sure you don't get bamboozled by the hype. Let's start from the bottom, but respectfully. Because budget strains aren't bad grass, they're the OGs that built the foundation of modern Zaza. They've been around so long and grown so much that even mid-level growers can make them shine. These are the mass-cultivated, well-understood classics. Simple genetics, easy to grow and reliable no matter who's behind the grow line. Basically, they're cheap because everyone knows how to do them right. The humble, honest, budget Za. These are the people strains, the ones that don't need holographic packaging or wrapper cosigns. They're affordable because they've been around forever. The genetics are stable and growers have them down to a science. Blue Dream is the perfect example. Born in California in the early 2000s, a child of blueberry and haze, it became the blueprint for good bud that doesn't ruin your day. It's balanced, euphoric, and clear-headed. Growers love it because it yields like crazy and barely dies no matter what you do to it. That's why even when it's cheap, it still hits smooth and familiar, a strain that's too reliable to ever really go out of style. Then there's Northern Lights, basically the granddad of all chill strains. It first popped up in the Pacific Northwest in the 80s before the Dutch perfected it in Amsterdam. Fast-growing, pest-proof, and built for mass indoor farms. It's been industrially cultivated for decades, which is why it's still affordable, but almost always legit. If the Magic Spice had a bedtime story, it'd be Northern Lights tucking you in. Super Lemon Haze adds some zest to the mix, a citrus-forward legend. It's what happens when Lemon Skunk and Super Silver Haze have a love child that smells like optimism. It's bright, energetic, and dependable, the kind of Satovia you can find almost anywhere without gambling on quality. Now as we climb the Zaza ladder, we reach that middle ground, the zone of responsible indulgence. These are the strains you grab when you've got a little extra cash and want something that actually tastes as good as it feels. They're pricier but not ridiculous because they come from more curated genetics, smaller batches, and growers who actually care about flavor. Gelato 33 sits right at the top of this tier. Born from Sunset Sherbet and Thin Mint GSC, it's the one that started the modern luxury grass movement. Creamy, fruity, perfectly balanced, chill but still productive. When you get the real thing, it smells like dessert and gasoline had a baby. If it doesn't, it's probably just another imposter. Then there's Wedding Cake. Despite the name, it doesn't taste like frosting. It's more earthy vanilla and soft calm. Bred from Triangle Kush and Animal Mints. It's a perfect end of the day but not end of consciousness strain. It's for people who want to feel cozy but not comatose. And then there's Mimosa, the brunch strain, a cross between clementine and purple punch. It's bright, citrusy, and sociable, like orange juice with a personality disorder. It's functional enough for daytime high, yet fun enough to make folding laundry feel like a side quest. But now we step into sacred ground, the true exotics. These are the strains you save for birthdays, paydays, or whenever you just want to flex on your past self. They're expensive, yes, but they're also the reason modern Za culture even exists, because these strains didn't just get famous, they changed the game, son. RS11 or Rainbow Sherbet 11 is where flavor became science. It introduced the whole terps over tea philosophy, fruity, creamy, and absurdly smooth. It's one of the few hype strains that's actually worth the hype, technically. The real cuts are so tightly controlled
told that fake RS11 almost always outsells the genuine article, because the real one never stays on shelves. Then there's Skittles, the original candy strain. If it smells like a fruit aisle in heaven, you found the real thing. If it smells like lawn clippings, congratulations, you've just been scanned by a marketing major. And finally, lemon cherry gelato, the modern hype king. Every plug claims to have it, most don't. The authentic version bred by Backpack Boys and 5 Points hits with a perfect mix of sweetness, cream, and citrus. Uplifting, euphoric, but without the anxiety spikes. It's potent but balanced. Indulgent but smooth. See it for under $50? That's not a deal. That's mid in designer cosplay. And there you have it, your foundational strain knowledge unlocked. You now know which names actually mean something, which ones are safe bets for each budget, and how to spot a clout chaser holding a mislabeled eighth of Skittles like it's the Holy Grail. Say $90.
Running out of za. Man, I swear, this phenomenon is always so unexpected. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, however long I plan ahead and try to time my grass running out, it always comes kicking in like the damn Kool-Aid man. I'll be out here the night before looking at the bottom of my grinder like,
Okay, I guess I gotta buy some more tomorrow.
and then when the next day comes, I'll be all flabbergasted like, oh boy, nothing better than some good old za at the end of the
Day.
What? This can't be. How have I ran out of za? I literally just had some
Yeah, shit.
And now that you realize that you out of grass, you got three options. You either accept your fate and just go on with your night, hit up your plug, and get ready to lose out on your hard-earned money, or the legendary special down bad method I often do, empty out all your grinders, search through all your pockets, and scrape together one last hit so you can delay the buying of the za for one more day. But although I do this quite often, I don't recommend it, cause I swear, those scrape together hits are always some 20% plastic, 20% dust, 20% dirt smack dabbly doos. So every time I do hit that awful abomination of a bowl, it'll have me all paranoid about what the f did I just smoke like? Man, why that smell like burning plastic? Why am I not even high? Bro, why am I so lightheaded? Mom, I think I'm dying. Only thing that's really worse than a scrape together hit is when you having a smoke sesh with the homies at night and one of them dudes knocks over the bong. Like, if only there was one that glows in the dark or something so you could easily spot it with the lights out. So basically what I'm saying is, scraping together hits from basically nothing isn't really the healthiest move you can make. But shit, hitting up the plug at the end of the day is a struggle in its own right. Cause I don't know why these damn plugs are always unavailable when you need them the most. Like, Mr. Invisible could be spamming me all day with Snapchats like, but then later when you hit man's up asking for some za, he disappears like the Avatar. Doesn't even open your messages. These plugs really don't care about us for real, man. Speaking of which, that reminds me of this one time when we ran out and had to travel through the whole of the ghetto version of Narnia just to get some za. It was just a normal day, well, night, where me, Salamander, and Ricky had planned to smoke some grass and just chill. And of course, Salamander, being the ultra reliable photographic memory dude he is, informed us that he def has enough grass for us all to enjoy at his place. So me and Ricky pull up, excited as you can be, only to arrive at the house and be informed, yo, what's good? Are you ready to get absolutely schmacked? She, of course, Phil, but what? Yeah, I just checked my room and, well, it turns out I don't have any grass. What do you mean you have no grass? You said you had a ton, bro. Yeah, I mean I did, but I kinda smoked it all. Man, what the? Why you gotta do us like that, bro? You got us all hyped for this, and now we're here in your mansion and you're telling us there's no grass? Like bro, I'm finna cry for real, man. Yeah, bro, you're right. I'm sorry. I messed up. But don't worry. I already hit up Jimmy the plug god. We can drive there now. Okay, sure, let's go. So we go into Salamander's parents' car, which was sleek AF, and quite literally went to the bad part of town with it, feeling like some mafia bosses, for real. But once we arrived at Jimmy the Plug God's house, he was nowhere to be seen, and well, turns out, dude hadn't even texted Salamander back. He just had us come here in hopes that the time we arrived, he would. As we were sitting in the car, waiting for a good 15 minutes at that point, Salamander tells us the dude's probably isn't gonna respond. But
But he already wrote another plug and he def gonna hook us up. So we drive to a new place where this time the plug was actually waiting for us. So we hopped out the car and walked towards him. Yo, what's good, bruh?
Yo, what's up?
So, do you got that Zaza?
Of course, yeah. Here it is.
Bro, is that 2 G's like I asked?
Yeah, it's just compact, you know, like a dime.
Bro, fuck off. If that's 2 G's, then prove it. What are you waiting for? Put it on the scale.
Nah, bro, I don't sell to people who don't trust me. Disrespectful AF.
Nah, bruh, disrespectful is trying to show the long-term customer in his hour of need. Keep your diamond to yourself, big dog. We outta here.
Yeah, whatever. See.
As our hopes were dwindling, we were in Salamander's car about to call it quits when the only plug that was exclusive to me and nobody else knew of finally responded to my message saying to meet up and that he got the za. So we go to yet another location in hopes that finally we would get our now well-deserved bag of grass. And once we arrived at the meetup spot, which was a pizza restaurant by the way, we parked the car and text Mr. Invisible that we're outside waiting for him. A good 10 minutes goes by with no response, so the overall mood is starting to get pretty gloomy, as we quite literally have just driven around for hours trying to secure just a smidgen of za. And although we were truly experiencing a Gen Z 21st century Great Depression, we were saved with the text,
Oh, he responded.
"Oh snap."
What'd he say, bro?
He said, yeah, coming out now.
Nice.
And this time, he actually did. Dudes came out with an apron, chef's hat, and the long-awaited bag. So we went there, and thankfully, it was actually 2 G's, not a diamond. And man, I ain't never been so glad for just a smidgen of za in my life, but can you blame me? I mean, this was a full-on journey, and although the time was like 11 p.m. at this point, we weren't too discouraged as we thought,
screw it, let's pull an all-nighter, baby.
So finally, after hours of waiting and talking to incompetent plugs, we arrived back at the mansion and did what we came there to do. Smoke a shit ton of grass, eat an unholy amount of munch, and wake up the next day feeling more hazy than a foggy morning. Which the highlight of the night was definitely when Salamander said he was gonna bake some magic cookies, but since we were already f***ed AF, dudes left them in the oven for like 3 hours. And then finally, when we had that "oh shit, the cookies" moment, we went there and found them completely burnt. But, you know, we still ate them and, well, they kinda worked, I think. I don't know. We were so blasted, we probably could've eaten some damn Oreos and thought ourselves more high because of it. So, all in all, running out of za is, for some reason, always so unexpected. But I've learned to enjoy the journey as much as the destination. And although, at the time, driving around searching for was annoying AF, looking back at it, it was actually pretty fun. And the night was definitely more memorable because of it. But wake and bake. One who does not understand the true implications of this act may find himself overwhelmed by its powers. Yet this holy practice has a special place in every stoner's heart, for it can only be truly enjoyed if one forfeits his entire life energy and hopes to receive the blessing of the za gods. For if one does not concede to the za, die will be consumed by it. I have witnessed one too many proud, ignorant soldiers underestimate the wake and bake and end up overwhelmed by its mighty force. But if you're confused by my holy transcript, I'll put it in terms you might understand better. It's not a wake and bake if you don't fucking wake up. Dudes be out here talking about,
ooh, I love waking and baking. It makes my whole day so much less stressful.
Yeah, of course it does, you dinglebob, if all you do after is watch TikTok, order Uber Eats, fill your belly to the brim, and take a 3-hour nap. But some of us still disrespect the holy practice by literally doing nothing with the extravagant mega high of the wake and bake. And yes, no matter what science says, I'm here to tell you getting high as soon as you wake up is a lot stronger and different than getting high, let's say, in the evening. And my theory is that right after waking up, your body and brain are not functioning at full capacity yet, and are weak against foreign substance attacks like THC. So when you inhale that beautiful Mary Jane right after waking up, your body's defense systems are down, leading to more of the THC slipping through to your brain, therefore getting suited as fuck. And since the za ain't nothing but an amplifier of your senses
anxious feelings and thoughts, since waking up is hard to begin with, cause I don't know about you, but I personally gotta recite every damn inspirational Rocky Balboa quote to muster up the strength to get up in the morning. If you're high, that shit is like 10 times harder. And that's proven by most of these mofos who claim they like waking and baking. Dudes get high and just stare at the wall and watch the day go by. Like, there really are levels to this shit, and since your boy waked and baked every single day for a whole summer, I have gone through all of them and am qualified to tell you it starts at level 1. The couch potato. This is the state you're probably gonna be in for the first couple times you get high right in the morning. And it ain't nothing to be ashamed of, because those first times are like a learning experience. Once the baking is planned, when you go to sleep, it'll have you all excited like, oh boy, can't wait to get high as soon as I wake up and go on an adventure. But when the time comes and you smoke that exotic, you soon realize that this shit hits different. Not only are you baked out of your mind, you also feel like your eyelids have 10-pound weights on them. But even so, you will try your best to go on that high adventure you have been hyping up. But unfortunately, the most you can do is gather the strength to go to the kitchen and make a sandwich. Which after, you'll probably take that right back to your room, put on some Netflix or some, watch it for a couple minutes and realize, I'm not leaving this bed anytime soon, am I? And boom, you either fall asleep or lie in your bed watching Netflix like the potato you are for the whole high. But if you're like me and don't accept that as a successful and fun wake and bake, you'll do it again some other day, and this time you're better educated on the powers of the morning za, which will lead you to level 2. I will persevere. This time, you know what to expect and have mentally prepared for the tiredness and overall lack of motivation to do stuff by the wake and bake. So just like before, you decide to try the holy practice, but this time decide to brush your teeth and maybe take a shower before the bake. Just cause you know one of the hardest parts about getting up in the morning is the fact you can't just stand up and start your day. You gotta do your morning routine first. Anyway, now that you've completed the wake and bake and were smart enough to do a bit of your morning routine first, the 10-pound weights that were attached to your eyelids previously have now lightened up to about 4-pound weights. And although every fiber of your being is still telling you to go lie down, you fight through and attempt to start your day with something lightly productive, like going to the store or cleaning your room. And if you do end up going to the store like I did, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's a trap. Cause you will most likely find yourself admiring every food item your eyeballs gaze upon, and we all know when the munchies hit, well, you either rise to the occasion or you have a bad trip. Hey, I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So you go back home, do your best impression of Nicotine avocado, and find yourself watching YouTube or Netflix on your wretched bed again. Good try, but not quite the wake and bake epic adventure you were hoping for. But this time, you swear on your mama. Well, better not do that, but anyway, you swear that next time you will have an awesome wake and bake, which will lead you to level 3.
It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
You've had enough of this BS. You're done folding to the power of the za and being that 1990s generic movie stoner who smokes grass, plays video games, and eats Doritos all day. So now, you do what you did previously, but instead of going to your local Wonderland 7-Eleven, you instead go to the gym or just do something productive that doesn't involve binge watching the new One Piece Netflix series. But this level is in reality quite subjective. It all depends on what your idea of a successful wake and bake is. For me, I'm happy with my wake and bake if after the high dissipates and reality starts to shape back in, I don't feel all hazy and sad from the fact that I did a wake and bake. This also means sometimes it's okay to hit that Mary Jane immediately after waking and just playing video games the entire time. If you plan a day like that ahead and enter the morning with no desire to do anything but lay on your couch and eat 50% off birthday cakes you got from the discount aisle at Walmart, then that's fine. One of my funnest and favorite high memories came from a wake and bake with Riz X, where immediately after waking, we spontaneously decided to get faded, and after that, we were a bit bored, so we decided to look at how much money we had in our bank balance, and well, things weren't looking too good, but we were able to scrape together $200 and went on Facebook Marketplace to search for fun items for the high mind. And oh boy, we sure did strike gold, because we found this guy selling an Xbox Series S with 2 controllers close to our area, so we pulled up, acquired the box, found a free trial for Xbox Game Pass, and played a bunch of split-screen games and ate McNuggets all goddamn day, which in my book has got to be a successful wake and bake, but it would have been an awful one if we hadn't planned ahead and occupied the day schedule with only 2 things in mind: smoke grass and have fun. But one thing I will say about the holy practice known as the wake and bake is that it's best enjoyed as a special occasion, and that's because them shits absolutely demolish your tolerance, and I speak from experience. We went from a bag lasting 1 week to 1 day and 3 days of waking and baking. Like, I don't know exactly why, but that shit sure isn't sustainable financially nor productivity wise. It also has to do with the fact when you wake and bake, you usually smoke throughout the whole day, but when you smoke up after a long and productive day of grinding, you only do so once or twice before you get tired and go to bed, giving your body ample time to recover from the THC. Think about it like this: if you wake and bake and then smoke throughout the day, that ganja is constantly building up, so your body never really has time to digest that THC through your system. But if you smoke only every 24 hours or so, you're giving your body time to recover and remove the za from your brain, making it so you don't have to smoke a whole spliff just to feel a little bit high. But shit, I'm not a scientist, so all this stuff might be BS, but I don't know, it kinda makes sense, doesn't it? The first day back at school, a day I used to hate. I mean, can you blame me? Cause as a student, summer is the only significant amount of time you are granted to enjoy your young life, and the rest, well, back to the academic 9 to 5. But to make the clown show that is the first day back at school a bit more fun and exciting, me, Salamander, and Ricky conjured up a devious plot to add a little bit of spice into the mix. It all started on the night before the first day. We were all at Salamander's place just chilling, playing Xbox, eating Doritos, and smacking the Benjamin, of course, when the conversation sailed to the topic of going back to school. It was the usual, "Man, I don't wanna go back to school." "Yeah, bro, same." Until Salamander, the troubled child he was, or is, I don't know, said, "Hey guys, you know what we should do tomorrow before the opening ceremony?" No. "We should totally spark a J." "Nah, man, you know I don't like getting faded in school. That shit is so stressful." Nah, hear me out. This ain't school. It's the first day ceremony where they sing, read poems, and I don't know, maybe someone will do a flip or something too. So, wouldn't it be more fun if during all that we were faded? He's got a point. Okay, but just a little. You better not bring some abomination of a spliff like last time. Shit, you know me, I wouldn't do that. We decided to smoke up just a little bit before the first day. A little bit was what we agreed upon. So obviously, Salamander, being the trustworthy homie he is, would never peer pressure nor instigate a friend into smoking more than he wants. So obviously, he only rolled a small split. Okay, so here's the J. Bruh. This mofo heard my request of a small J to get only a bit suited and decided, okay, small, microdosed, small J, medium. Nah, fuck it, fat. But anyway, here we are, on the park bench outside the school premises at 8:30 a.m. during wake and bake hours. And well, because me and Ricky are men of integrity and honor and would never waste Frieza, we fell to the bamboozlement of Salamander yet again and smoked the whole thing. Whereas right after, we were running a bit late, so the three of us Soink Musketeers stood up and started walking intensely to school. But honestly and thankfully, I wasn't very paranoid, unlike most of the times I got high at school, because, well, it was the first day and we didn't really have any classes except for only one introductory welcome back type thing that was supposed to last only 45 minutes, so not a big deal. Once we arrived at the auditorium, we were shell-shocked to find out the speech was already going on, and because we were looking like a couple medium rare filet mignons, we didn't really want to go in, because we knew when we opened that door, everybody would stop and stare at us, because that's just how it always is when you arrive to class late. And although Salamander was telling us, "Nah guys, don't be pussios, let's just go," we ended up sitting out the first part until lunchtime, cause we were pretty sure we wouldn't get in trouble if we just said we missed our bus or something. 30 minutes went by and lunchtime came, and because we were camped out at the cafeteria, we were the first to get their welcome back to school lunch. And what was that wonderful, significant, mouth-watering dish, you might ask? Well, it was nothing but munchies heaven. We were served some beans, a boiled egg, and some turkey meat or something. Oh, and I can't forget the 1% milk that tastes like it was mixed with water. Fantastic. But even though the food should have been pretty dog poop, it was actually pretty aight. I mean, it wasn't no Big Mac and McNuggets, but because we were high, it was edible. No. I would even go as far and say it was pretty good. After eating our gulag food faster than everybody else, we were the first back in the auditorium, and because of that, we got the best seats in the house, at the far back corner where no one could see us. And although we had missed the only important part of the day, that being the introductory speech by the principal, we did have a jolly old time listening to the honor students' inspirational poems and songs about life by giggling and chuckling in the back like
Math. Hey yo, chemistry.
And with that, the first day had come to an end, and we went back home and played Xbox High. Smoking alone. It's a lot different than smoking with a group because, well, you're alone, so it's exclusively your job to explore those high thoughts and piece together fun activities to enjoy the high. And if all goes well, you'll have a blast, scrolling shorts, playing games, watching movies, pondering the scale of the universe and how nothing actually matters. It's great! But it comes with a catch. You see, when you're with a group of friends, it's much easier to stay on subject and destroy the evil thoughts the grass might curse you with. So, in my experience, when I'm getting high alone, I usually smoke a bit less just cause being super mega high is 99% of the time best enjoyed with a group and not by yourself. Unfortunately, when I was a youngster, I hadn't discovered this. In fact, I accidentally got the highest I'd ever been up until that point. And the demons I faced that night made me who I am today. The story begins with a high schooler CBD bro who had planned a great adventure with the main homie Salamander and Ricky. Well, not a great adventure per se. We were gonna go to Salamander's place on Friday night and get absolutely obliterated off that Zaza. And for that, I had secured a whole gram of that exotic the Friday before. And although very tough, I fought the urge to blaze for a whole week just so we could demolish it all together in one night. And if you watch some of my older videos, you know Salamander had a bit of a funky home situation, so a lot of times his house was completely free, and this was supposed to be the case on this beautiful night as well. So you know your boy was excited as an 8-year-old on Christmas for this upcoming Friday night high extravaganza. But it all came crashing down when Salamander texted me, "Hey yo, my parents came home tonight and well, they found my bong, so I'm basically in the gulag now, so no smoke sesh tonight, nor probably the next night, nor, well, until they leave again. See you once I serve my time. LOL. A true tragedy. Our plans have been foiled by none other than Salamander's stinky old bong. But I think you guys can see where this story is going. I had a whole gram of that fine exotic grass, and I've been holding myself back for a whole week in anticipation for the now cancelled high extravaganza. So here I was, standing in my shitty little dorm, filled with sorrow. I decided, screw it, I'ma just smoke alone. So I put my level 99 J-rolling skills to use, and after about 15 minutes of fumbling the spliff, I had done it. I rolled a J that was intended for free people, and headed outside to smoke it all by myself. After heading out, I went to my favorite park bench that was just outside the dormitory territory and started chipping away at the abomination I created. 1 puff, 2 puffs, 3 puffs. I was faded than a hoe, but nowhere near the fadedness I had been awaiting for. I continued puffing away until I reached the halfway point and my mouth became drier than the Sahara Desert, bro. So I took a little break to try to figure out how high I truly was. As I stared into nothingness for a good minute, I felt my first person camera slowly pull away into third person, like I was in GTA 5 or something. And I have no shame in saying I didn't smoke the whole thing, cause I was starting to get a bit paranoid, so I took my half-smoked 1G spliff and headed back to my dorm. And bro, you know those creepy pictures that are creepy because they look familiar, like it's just a normal pic, but then you really look at them and realize they ain't normal? Yeah, well, that's how I felt when I walked through the hallway leading to my room. But anyway, once I got to my room, I was still feeling paranoid. Like, it was weird cause I had never felt that way before from Za, and I think that's just cause when you get high with others, you're kinda comforted by the fact that you're not alone in the feeling of being absolutely smacked out of your mind. Thankfully, I did find some comfort in my favorite platform, YouTube. So I started watching some good vibey videos and slowly snapped out of my paranoid state, but was instantly greeted with a new problem. An uncontrollable sensation that if not satisfied will drive you right back to where you started. I'm talking of course about the munchies. So I gathered my strength and started walking to the closest store. And once I arrived, well, I ain't even gonna lie, my wallet was at the mercy of the za, bro. So basically, every food item I saw, my brain went,
Bro, see those Twinkies? That shit looks bussin'.
yeah, I know, but it's $4 and I already got like $25 worth of stuff in my car.
Nah, bruh. Screw all that. You buy this fucking bag of Twinkies, or I'm giving you a panic attack right here, right now, bro.
Okay, I'll buy the Twinkies.
Yeah, of course you will. Well, while you're at it, take that cheese sauce for the nachos, too.
Okay, I will. After my brain finished ganking the shit out of my wallet, I went back to my room and started demolishing everything I bought. And after that whole munch sesh, I was feeling a lot less hot too, but also my stomach was a bit upset, so I took a massive dump, laid down on my bed, and started scrolling shorts. And I scrolled and scrolled until I passed out without even brushing my teeth and still in my clothes. So you can imagine the next day, I had a bit of a cush hangover, feeling like Shrek, haziness, and overall being slower mentally. But hey, no regrets, cause my brain wasn't lying about those Twinkies, god damn. Edibles, part of the holy trinity when it comes to getting as faded as humanly possible. And the reason they are so potent is that in the act of cooking the za, the THC transforms into something beyond its normal powers and becomes Super Saiyan za, or 11-hydroxy-THC. But let's stick to Super Saiyan cause that other name isn't really cool. Anyway, if you're an OG subscriber, you know my first time doing edibles was quite a crazy experience, but I wouldn't call it anything else than, yeah, I was really freaking high. But this time, the abominations we made were no mere first-timer dose. We threw everything we had in there. The day started like any other, except I had just gotten back from Barcelona the previous night and was a bit tired. But you see, there was this really cool movie in the cinema called Oppenheimer. Anyway, me and Rizix had planned to watch Oppenheimer in the cinema sometime before August, but being us, we obviously wanted to be baked during this time, and well, the movie was 3 hours long, so just a quick hit wasn't gonna cut it. So we decided on something we hadn't done in years, that obviously being edibles. The only problem was, we don't know how to manage time, and well, once we started actually making the things, the movie had already begun. But although I do love Cillian Murphy, let's be honest, the main part of this journey was the edibles, not Oppenheimer. So we were like, screw it, we only gonna miss like the first 30 minutes. Which, if we had actually read some reviews on the movie, we would have known it's not something you go to 30 minutes late while bugging up the Zaza and the world's strongest edible. Yeah, we also, just for safe measures, smoked a bit before too. But anyway, once we made our abominations and the whole house was smelling like Snoop Dogg's beard, we sat down to eat these deep fried to get you deeply fried cookies. Ready? Ready. Bruh, they're so dry, man. Yeah, so they were awful in the taste department, but in the how messed up they gonna get you apartment, well, you'll find out soon enough. As I said earlier, just for safety, in case they were duds, we also smoked up a bit before, and we're feeling like medium-sized, cooled on the kitchen counter pizza rolls, even before the cookies hit. As we arrived in the cinema, we were, well, a little bit scared, but also excited to find out what these monstrous things were going to do to us, because, well, we hadn't done edibles in ages, and knew our tolerance towards them was zero. After buying popcorn and a medium drink, we walked in the cinema, took our seats, and sat down to watch the movie, which had been going on for 40 minutes at that point, but we thought we could still enjoy it, and we did until... Bro, I could not stop laughing, and that's when I knew the edibles had hit. Now, up until this point, I consider myself a man of pure willpower and mental fortitude, and that there's no way some green plant was gonna get me bugging. And for the first 30 minutes after feeling them hit, it was true, until I got the ultimate disability the Za can curse you with. I'm talking, of course, about manual breathing. I was sat in that cinema like a full-on tweaker, and bro, it did not feel good. Like, however hard I tried to destroy the Super Saiyan Saw with my mind,
I just couldn't.
And Riz X was low-key tweaking too. Plus the movie, well, it was kinda shit. And before you roast me in the comments, I think Oppenheimer is a great movie. Just arriving 40 minutes late and bugging off Super Saiyan Za wasn't the best idea for a story-focused film. So we decided to get the fuck out of there. And bro, I don't even know how to describe what I felt and saw once we opened the gates to the outside world. Bro, I was feeling like my senses were turned up to 10,000% overdrive. And bro, I'ma be honest, I was not seeing straight. So although we drove to the cinema, we were in no shape to drive back, so we just started paddling our demon-eyes looking butts home. Until at some point, we found some e-scooters, so we rented those and just started blasting away. And what an amazing time that was. Like, every switch of scenery felt like a brand new biome. Like, at some point, we took a little detour through a park, and bro, we felt like we was in a damn jungle. Like, even the slight rumble and turbulence we got from the road made it feel like we were true explorers on not e-scooters, but one of those safari exploring buggies, riding through unexplored wildland. But anyway, once we got back home, I decided to look in the mirror to see if I looked as high as I felt. And well, I looked more high. Like, I didn't even know your eyes can get that red, but there they were, looking like the eyes of the damn devil himself. As I looked in the mirror and saw nothing but an empty vessel wandering the wrong plane of existence staring back, I got a bit frightened, cause man, I swear, my reflection was not moving in sync with me yet again. But this time, it was even worse, cause I was like 4 times higher than I was when I first did edibles. So what happened next, you might be wondering? I was bugging out, looking like an uncooked steak, and I couldn't focus on anything longer than 1 second. Well, I went to sleep, cause one good thing I will say about the trip, the comfortability I felt in my bed was unlike anything I've ever felt before. My blanket was just the perfect temperature, my mattress the perfect fit, and my pillow the perfect place to lay your head. And because of that, and I'm not exaggerating on this, the very second I closed my eyes, I was asleep. Well, not like deep sleep, but nap sleep. Anyway, after closing my eyes, in about 3 minutes, I was completely knocked out. And well, I slept so much like a baby, I actually believe the Za manipulated my very core and reverted my cells and body shape to that of when I was 3 months old, to enable me to get the full experience of sleeping like a baby. Only problem was though, as I woke up like literally 10 hours later, I was still high AF. Not like can't see straight high, but like just hit the BONG high. To be honest, I was just amazed, cause I knew if we had smoked that amount of Za we put in the cookies, we might have been really lit, but nothing like we were from the cookies. And after that day, I have now learned my lesson that actual strong edibles are more comparable to mushrooms than normal bud. Mushrooms, they are famous for their mindset changing properties, but to me, they have always just been a funny fungus that makes you see stuff. Until the day me and my brother decided to do something this bearded guy called the heroic dose. And well, I can now confidently say that Mario is one crazy ass motherfucker. The journey began in Amsterdam, like always, where we were going to hopefully enjoy our time in DEF CON 1, a festival so big these dudes made their own currency and segregated the population like the freaking pyramid system. Anyway, because this rager was 4 days long and we thought it would be cool to do something besides grass and drank for the whole time, we paddled our butts to a smart shop where, well, you guessed it, they sold mushrooms. But this time it was different. You see, a year ago, me and my brother did them for the first time, and because of that, we're extra cautious about the size of the portion, which led to us taking too little to truly call it a trip. We did end up mixing that shit with grass though, and it freaking blew our minds. That story is on the top right corner right now. But anyway, this time we were looking for the true experience, the type of shit that will have you questioning your very fabric of existence, cause well, we just built different like that. So as we were googling the right amount 200-pound behemoth should take to get the full experience, we stumbled upon this video of this YouTube scientist talking about what he called the heroic dose. After dividing the 10 with a 5 and multiplying that with a 69, we came to the scientific conclusion, we gotta eat a shit ton of mushrooms. And for that, we had to buy a ton. So we ended up purchasing 1 mega pack of truffles each, which is already considered a lot, but we also bought 1 extra that we were going to split to make it a ultra trip. Now, unfortunately, these truffles weren't allowed in the premises of DEF CON 1, so we did the only logical thing and hid them in the woods surrounding the festival area, which is important because this would end up making our journey 10 times more difficult. Anyway, 2 days went by of just chilling when we finally felt comfortable enough in our accommodation to decide, let's go get those goddamn mushrooms. And with that, we started our 10-mile hike to secure them things. To be fair, it was our own stupidity that led us to walk in 10 miles instead of 1 because, well, you know, we Gen Z at the end of the day and we don't know how to read no damn map. But regardless, we powered through with only our clothes, DEF CON wristband, and our trustworthy flip-flops. And thankfully, no one had stolen our hidden stash, so now like a pair of wild animals, we demolished those shrooms looking like Mike Tyson on Impulsive for the next 3 minutes. Once we got that done, we walked back to the festival with the intention of going back to our tent. But unfortunately, having walked 10 miles in flip-flops in the scorching sun, once we saw 2 hammocks under the shade of a tree, we folded like a Nintendo DS and laid down and waited for what was to come. And at about the 30-minute mark, I felt the first bit of kick, indicated by the prolonged interest in this random guy who walked past us with red shades and a Swiss flag worn like a cape. I sat on that hammock wondering, where is that guy going to? What's like his story? Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? If he's a bad guy and he's about to do something villainous, I could have stopped him. Will this haunt me forever? Oh wait, I'm tripping. Snap out of it, Mario. And that was the start of our heroic journey. We then proceeded to bounce back and forth questioning, what you feeling, bro? Until finally, ResX found the strength to stand up from that hammock with the bones surrounded by jelly that were our legs. Which also gave me the power to stand up and start wandering around the magical place that was DEF CON. The more we walked, the more trippy shit got. We truly felt like we were in some type of medieval town from the fact that there were no buildings, only shacks, and the people there were all either drunk, high, or both. Some of the stages were also kind of scary because you see DEF CON is a hardstyle festival, and in hardstyle there are many subgenres, ranging anywhere from remixes of popular songs to sentences like "Dance with the Devil" or "Long live the Antichrist," followed by a beat drop so strong the common man would mistake what he hears as noise, not music. Anyway, as you can imagine, some of the more hardcore styles were also accompanied with more hardcore people and more hardcore stages, which, well, when you're bugging off what we were, it got a bit intense. And it was truly a test of our characters, cause anybody can be a tough guy when they're drunk, but when you're at your most vulnerable and every thought is significant and uncontrollable, it's pretty hard keeping your cool. But in that moment, I was very thankful for my brother because although we are both Chads in our own right, that day the power of a single Chad was not enough and we had to really pull our power together to actually enjoy the trip and not bug out. Once we hit the 1.5 hour mark though, we randomly stumbled upon our friend who was there with us at DEF CON, and it was a very nice mid-quest point. We shared our experiences, explained that we are currently on another plane of existence, had some laughs, oh, and we also showed him our disgusting feet that we acquired from walking 10 miles in flip-flops, which he one-upped us by showing his messed up right eye which he got from getting dust on it or something. After that, we proceeded to the final boss, our tent, which might not seem all that scary, but at this point we had ascended to a place we had never even thought to exist. A place of pure mystery, questioning yourself and everything you know. The peak. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about most of the stuff we discussed because it was some real deep shit. But I will say it was one of the toughest experiences I've had. It was scorching hot, we were 1,000 miles from home, and we were just not in the correct dimension, bro. Coupled with the fact the tent was damn orange and illuminated everything to look like Donald Trump's tan. And bro, the moving patterns, they were endless. But at the end of it, we walked away with a lot of knowledge about ourselves and broke barriers in our minds we didn't know were there. So this heroic dose, just like the name suggests, is only for people who are courageous and strong enough to withstand it, because this was no easy smoke grass and play Xbox trip. This was a full-on journey. I'd even go as far to say this was, or at least felt like, a main storyline quest in our lives, which after completion we really did feel accomplished that we endured.
The Plug, a holy being that will always be there for you, especially when you don't need him, and also occasionally when you do. And because I don't live in the fancy America, where all the big vloggers and TikTokers are, I still rely on The Plug for my Zaza.
But after years of buying from different plugs, I always wondered how much money do these guys actually make and what are the requirements to be successful in the profession? Well, finally, after the introduction of a new, scientifically enhanced type of grass, HHC, I kinda got the answer to these questions, and I'ma be honest with you, it ain't what I expected. As I said before, it all started with the introduction of the so-called new and improved ZA, HHC, and because it was new and regulations had not been set, even in my Stone Age country where an 18-year-old can buy a liter of vodka and drink himself to death, or just get hammered and get the sudden urge to call out the 6'5" undefeated heavyweight MMA fighter at the club because, well, when he sees red, bodies start dropping. Anyway, since this was legal and I am a law-abiding citizen who wouldn't even dare to jaywalk, I thought to myself, this is the perfect moment to see what being the plug is all about. Furthermore, because most dudes in this country don't know anything about strains, hash, bud, and just take whatever the plug has, I didn't need to worry about people thinking I scammed them. Also, your boy conducted a thorough inspection of this new product, using only the most delicate and scientific tools possible. Oh, okay, I hit that shit through a Red Bull canning. It kicked pretty nicely, so I dubbed it Verified Lab. After securing half an ounce of the Verified Lab, which is 14 grams in European tongue, I went to work on finding customers. And obviously the best place to start is on Snapchat. So I took a picture of the Zaza with the caption, $15 per gram, hit me up. Which is a steal, because, well, it sold for 20 a G here. And unfortunately, I only got one sale, cause I guess most of the people who I knew smoke Verified Lab were plugs themselves and knew of the existence of HHC and that it's like $6 a gram. But I was still determined to flip them packs and make them racks, so I hit up the most trustworthy plug I knew who actually had people in his contacts who smoked Verified Lab, but were not in the business of trapping themselves. After a thorough business meeting where we may or may not have smoked the grass ourselves, he conducted that the gas I had was indeed worthy of the title Verified Lab, and offered to buy it all for $12 a gram, which, I mean, I got it for 8.5, so I obviously said yes. At first I thought that was all. I made a nice profit of about $40 and was feeling good. But after about 2 days, I got a message from the plug I conducted business with reading, "Bro, that shit sold out quick. Can you order more? I think I can actually sell this stuff for 25 a G, cause people want the same stuff real bad." Now, I think you are currently pondering two questions. Why didn't he just order more himself? And how the hell did these dudes not know it was HHC? Well, the reason he didn't order more himself is quite simple. He is a full-time OG plug, so dudes does not have a bank account to order stuff. And to answer the second question, I truly don't know. I couldn't really believe it myself, but I guess most stoners really don't give a fuck about news and staying up to date with it. In the words of the great plug himself, these dudes just wanna get as up as possible. They don't know nothing about no THC, HHC, CBD, BBC, NBA, MMA, nothing. Anyway, it all sounds great, right? Everybody loves the Verified Lab and are willing to pay premium for it. Plus, it's all technically legal and I don't even need to sell it myself. Well, it would have been, but there were two problems that made it a bit more sketch. You see, the issue with HHC is that it's a chemically produced product. All it actually is THC with a couple extra hydrogen molecules. And through thorough research, both practical and scientifical, I found out that HHC is very unstable in nature, meaning one patch of the same strain can truly be Verified Lab. But then the next patch made with the exact same ZA and same way could be some whack leftover Reggie. It's because it's very hard to control how well this hydrogen molecule binds to the THC, and not financially worth it to control the potency of each patch. So you could order that shit once and get some damn moon rock, or like the first experience I had with HHC, get some damn oregano. And the second problem was the plug I was conducting business with didn't want that risk all to himself, so I would have to cover the upfront costs of the HHC and then give it to him where he would hopefully flip it for 25 bucks a G, which I would receive 15 bucks a G and him 10. So here I was with quite the pickle of a conundrum. Should I order a whole ounce of HHC, which by buying an ounce you get the best price per gram, but I risk it being whack Reggie? Or should I just order a fourth, therefore lowering the risk of getting whack product, but also lowering the profit margins? And the conclusion I arrived at was the best of both worlds. I ordered half an ounce just like before. After receiving the good, I gave half of it to the trustworthy OG plug and waited for that passive income to roll in. But unfortunately, it was as I feared. The stuff I got this time was still good and solid, but it just wasn't the verified loud I received before. So the OG plug was having trouble marketing it as premium ZA and lowered the price to the industry standard $20 a G. But unfortunately, dudes were catching on as well, and some of them refused to buy the ZA cause they could just order it online. Like, yeah, you can, but wouldn't you rather buy from your friendly neighborhood plug? I guess not, cause after a couple days, the OG plug sent me another message. Yo, this stuff ain't moving like before, and people catching on about the origins. I have half of the stuff left. If you want, I'll buy it out for $10 a G, or just return it to you. Which I hesitantly chose the first option, so I had him just buy it out. Yet there was still the issue of the 7 Gs or so I had left, which I initially planned on flipping, but was unfortunately unable to, cause mofos knew I got that shit for pennies compared to the asking price. So I did as all plugs would do and dubbed the leftover HHC as my personal stash, and just started blazing my own product, which was kinda stupid in hindsight because a couple weeks after, HHC was illegalized, as we all knew it would be, and became a rarity in the ZA industry. Which mofos started flipping that shit for $30 a G, like goddamn, it ain't even that different from normal ZA. Anyway, by the end of it all, I made a bit under $100 in profit, or in another metric, about 10 Gs of ZA, which I smoked myself. So really the conclusion to my plugging experience was I got free grass, which was a bit underwhelming cause I was hoping to become the local Pablo Escobar, if you know what I mean. Moral of the story is don't get high off your own supply, or at least if you want to be a businessman. Oh, and also don't sell illegal things, cause well, this HHC was legal, so I could have technically flipped it on Facebook Marketplace or something. I think we can all agree that the magic broccoli can make you more creative. However, how does that creativity translate outside the realm of Yodiland is a whole different question. Now, me being the certified weed scientist, doctor, officer, and more, I've had a lot of sometimes stupid, sometimes brilliant ideas, well, bugging off the Zaza. Like this one time when me and my brother were just enjoying a beautiful summer day outside on the terrace, faded AF, when by the gods I was struck with an idea so brilliant and great, I just couldn't stop until it came to fruition. And what was this idea? Well, it went something like this.
Oh my. Hey bro, I just got this great idea that I think we should do right now.
Okay, what is it?
I got 2 words for you. Virtual reality.
And what transpired after this is one of the most sad, stressful, and heartbreaking experiences of my high career. Although my brother was hesitant at first, after I explained why virtual reality will quite literally change our lives forever, he agreed to it. The only problem now was we were broke. Well, not completely, but these damn VR headsets cost anywhere from $400 to $1,000 new, and ain't no way we were about to drop a bag like that on some VR porn.
Games, I mean VR games. That's what I was saying.
So we did what any other broke 20-year-old with a materialistic dream would do. We went on Facebook Marketplace, where after a while of searching, we found a Oculus Rift S being sold for $150, which is a great deal. I mean, it cost $400 new, plus it was only 20 miles away, so we could be there in like 20 minutes. So obviously, we went ahead and bought it, without really asking any questions nor looking through the description of the post, which mentioned a cat nibbling on the cord, but hey, what does that have to do with anything?
It was broken, okay? That's what it had to do with it.
But not in a won't even turn on way of broken. It was like work for 20 minutes and then doesn't broken. Plus, it didn't even use a normal HDMI cable, so we had to buy a damn $50 adapter for it as well that we haven't used ever since this incident with VR. After like 2 days of screwing around with the settings and trying to fix the nibbled on cable, we got it to work for the record-breaking time of 1 hour. Yes, 1 hour of virtual reality.
But, you know, we spent like 10 hours getting it all set up and fixing the damn errors. Plus we dropped $200 on the supplies, so, yeah.
And, I think it's time I confess my sins right here on the channel. After a week of having the VR headset, we sold it. for a profit to an unexpecting kid who probably was saving up money for months to get it. Sorry. But it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I put in the description the same damn thing. A cat nibbled on the wire. So yeah, I think the kid learned a valuable lesson worth more than the $200 he gave me for the broken headset. I mean, the VR headset. But it's not all bad, cause I've had some pretty banger ideas while high as well. Like this one time when I was inhaling that broccoli and stumbled upon these high stickman channels that were popping up, and I thought to myself, wait, hold up, I'm high. I know how to use Microsoft Paint. I can do this. And look, it was one of those ideas that you have while high, but it was actually a good idea. Very unlike this one time when me and a couple homies were hotboxing in the car when I came up with the genius plan to go sledding in the middle of winter whilst completely blasted, whilst only having on a hoodie and whilst only having our damn legs for transportation cause the car was just a stationary hotbox machine. So yeah, at the time I don't know what I was thinking. I remember just focusing on the awesome part, you know, the whole sledding down the mountain thing, but didn't take into account how cold it was, how much we needed to walk to get up the mountain, how I only had a f***ing hoodie on, plus I forgot about my crippling paranoia about feeling cold. Like literally, my dumbass brain just sometimes flips on me like, hey, psst. Yeah. So you're having fun? Feeling good? You know, yeah, it's a beautiful day, you know, I'm having a good time. Yeah, it is. But you're freezing cold, aren't you? No, what? I'm not. Well, now you are. F*** you. Talk to you in your next high. Peace. So yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with that sledding plan. I was just really hyped about it for no apparent reason, but I think that's just like, it makes everything seem awesome. Another weird obsession I seem to have when I'm faded is real Japanese samurai swords. I don't know why, but there's just something about knowing that the sword you are holding was once used for actual combat by a true samurai. But hey, that just might be me. The first high. I think most of us remember our first time inhaling the Zaza, cause for the unlucky few who got hit with that paranoid pack and started bugging out like that Szechuan sauce dude at McDonald's, they probably wrote off the grass as an unholy manifestation of the devil himself. For me, my first sight was a truly enlightening moment, as I ain't no dum-dum, so I took the proper precautions to ensure I wasn't gonna be laying on the bed having flashbacks cause my mom came home and wanted me to do some chores or something. But anyway, the first time high experience is different for everybody, but it always starts with the securing of the bag. Now, depending on how old you were and where you live, this part of the first high was either the easiest or the most stressful, because nowadays mofos can go to a damn tree and acquire the holiest and strongest grass in the universe like a damn candy bar, but back in the Wild West, you had to deal with these dudes called plugs, and if you were just a normal kid buying an illegal item from some dude named Spider, it was really scary. Like me and my homies always imagined they'd be all tattooed up, packing heat in every pocket, looking like Mike Tyson when he got out of jail. In reality, they were usually just normal dudes trying to make a quick buck. And also, now that I'm older, I've kind of realized all these plugs with tattoos and nicknames like Scorpion or some shit were literally just wannabe thugs who just listened to a bit too much UK drill and made it their whole personality overnight. But anyway, once you secured the bag, you had to move on to setting the time and place. Now, if you had a friend with his own crib or with parents who frequently left the house unattended, this was easy, but if not, well, that's where a lot of these bad trips happened. Mofos were fiending to get high so bad, a lot of them decided, fuck it, let's just get high at school, or something crazy like that. And let me tell you, you gotta mentally be David Goggins if you get high for the first time at school and don't start tweaking. Even after I had smoked up a good amount, I still didn't consider getting high at school a chill experience. It was a mission every single time. Like, however calm you thought you were, all it took was one...
Mr. C, can you tell me the answer to question 14, please?
Yeah, sure. So, question 14, well, the answer...
Excuse me, Mr. C, are you on something?
Well, shit. Juvie it is, I guess. But hey, I do know dudes who did this for their first, and survived. And big props to them, just couldn't be me, and I don't recommend it be you either. Another popular option, which was kind of in the middle, was just getting faded outside at the park on a weekend or something. This was much more chill, but the problem of randoms walking around and the fear of getting an unexpected call from your parents or something was still quite prevalent. Also, another downside, coma is quite easily catchable. So if you puffed on that za for too long, you might have gotten a bad trip because you got glued to the park bench. Speaking of puffing for too long, choosing the amount. Last part, but arguably the most important, is obviously choosing the size of the portion. Now, depending on your friends and if they were heads or not, they could have told you anything from,
Yeah, man, so a good first hit is this entire 1 gram spliff. Inhale it all and you should feel something.
to
So yeah, this molecule should be enough for your first time. It's got a good amount of atoms in it.
In reality, it's somewhere in the middle, cause being it's your first time, your tolerance doesn't exist yet, so even smelling some premium wood might have gotten you high. Then again, if the stuff wasn't premium, you might have been left disappointed at barely feeling anything and writing it off as,
Yeah, I'm just built different, I guess. It don't work on me.
and actually, for some reason, a lot of dudes don't feel anything their first time, including me. I always imagined there being some wall of defense in my body, and with every hit, it got weaker, until finally it broke and opened the floodgates for the green magic to flow through. But there is a final step that a lot of people forget to do, and that is enjoying the high. So yeah, don't try to control it, flow with it. You get me? Especially if you alone. And also, my first time was alone. The wake and bake is a legendary art form created by humans of the highest intellect. The act of waking from one slumber and immediately entering into Yodi land is a sacred practice known only to the chillest of creatures. There has been a lot of controversy in the meaning of wake and bake. Some say it can only truly be called the holy practice if one smokes up immediately after awakening from dreamland. Others, including myself, believe it is not necessary to sleep next to your crusty last cleaned in 2007 smelling like a rotting can of tuna ass piece of glass. Cause I don't know about you, but personally I like to start my mornings off with something nice, like a coffee or some bacon and eggs, not the taste of water in my mouth whilst coughing my lungs out. I believe a true connoisseur won't partake in such barbaric activities and will at least put some pants on before smoking that doozy. Now, if you ever participated in the wake and bake, you will know that it hits differently than, let's say, an evening bake, but only if you got the whole day free, cause the Zaza will amplify your excitement for the coming day, or until you eat breakfast and pass out on your bed. Back in summer, I used to bake after the wake quite a bit. It was always really nice to just go outside to the warm sun while smoking that morning pack. And bro, don't get me started on those breakfast munchies. I'm usually the guy to only drink coffee or something for breakfast, but that early morning grass gets me on that Nicotine avocado pack, I swear.
Bro, how much are you going to eat?
Everything. And after a delightful breakfast like that, how can you be anything but energized? Nah, in reality, after destroying 2,000 calories of Twinkies, you're probably gonna pass out in 20 minutes. But that's why after the first couple times, I created the 3 golden rules of a productive wake and bake. Number 1. Don't have a demonic ritual that involves you sacrificing 15 hot pockets in your stomach.
But you just said that the breakfast munchies are nice.
Yeah, they are, but you have to treat the massive breakfast kind of like drinking alcohol. So you gotta understand the sacrifice you are making by having that giant breakfast. You are effectively done for the day, as you will most likely fall right back to sleep after, and then when you do wake up from your 3-hour morning nap, you'll feel all hazy and bad, cause you just wasted your whole day. Lazy piece of shit. So if you wanna avoid that, don't wake and munch. Number 2. Make a plan the night before. Have goals set for the day. Basic stuff like buy groceries, maybe work out, hang with some friends, stuff like that. Cause when you have a plan the night before, you are much less likely to just sleep the whole day and then at night feel like a lazy fat tub of lard. But also keep in mind, you are supposed to have fun on a wake and bake, so don't make the objectives too hard cause you're probably just not gonna do them then. Some of my favorite wake and bake activities include going to the gym, playing a team sport, playing a story game, bathing in the sun, going to the store, hanging out with the homies, etc. Anyway, time for the last rule, which is number 3. Don't get obliterated on the wake and bake. So this one is kinda obvious, but important nonetheless. It might seem like a great idea to get soinked up to nines on your first hit, but in reality, all that will do is spoil the plans you set the night before. Cause no matter how productive of a smoker you are, when you're faded to the max, there is about a 95% chance you'll tell yourself, ugh, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow.
which once evening rolls around will hit you with that existential depression. And the only way to escape from that is with the purest form of productivity. We've all had it, we all know it. 2 a.m. motivation.
The drugs, the cigarettes, that dumb bitch. It all starts fucking today, alright? No more fucking excuses. This is the year of the fucking soldier.
And I mean, even though who doesn't love a bit of midnight motivation, it won't get you anywhere in the long term, and really is usually just a sign of doing nothing useful during the day. But hey, if you follow these 3 golden rules, I'm sure your future wake and bakes will be much more productive and fun. At least I hope so. Getting high at any family event is always a risky mission, especially if you're still in the teen phase where everybody sees you as the kid that needs to be taught life lessons. Even though, how is it fair that Uncle Ronnie can down a liter of vodka and start saying the most out-of-pocket stuff, like he was Kanye West or something, and for some reason, nobody seems to care. But if I so much as speak 0.5 seconds before Uncle Ronnie finishes his rant about why drinking beer is actually healthier than water, then I'm looked at as the one with behavioral problems. So you can imagine that if my family found out that there hasn't been a single gathering where I haven't been at least a little high, they'd probably have me sent to rehab. But even though Uncle Ronnie might be a tiny bit racist and sexist, he's also funny as fuck. And no way am I going to the only comedy show where there's also an unholy amount of munch and not getting high. Well, that's at least what my mindset was until a couple years back when, as usual, the whole family tree gathered at Grandma's place for the yearly Christmas dinner. So as we do, me and my brother hit up the local plug the night before and scrounged our money together to buy the Holy Gram. And our plan was to ration the gram in a way that we can stay blazed for the whole day. But what we did not take into account was this was no ordinary ganja. It was that exotic Cali moon rock. So here we are, everybody's packed all their things and we're about to jump in the car and drive to the ranch. But before we pull up, we gotta get high. And thankfully, we had already rolled an extraordinarily perfect spliff. With the spliff in pocket, we told our parents that we're gonna take a quick walk. And oh boy, like I said before, one thing we did not take into account was the potency of this Zaza. Cause about halfway through, I was feeling like a well done smoked ribeye steak. So I told my brother,
"Hey man, I don't know if we should smoke more. I'm like really faded already."
And he was like,
"Yeah, I feel you. But what other choice do we got? No way in hell am I wasting even a microgram of this exotic moon rock. And I can't put it in my pocket cause the whole car will stink of grass. And you know we're gonna be exiled if they find out we high."
Yeah, true. Shit. Guess we gotta finish it.
Don't worry though. It's pretty early. I doubt that anybody's there yet. Plus, we can just go upstairs.
Aight, facts. Just gotta survive the car ride. So we go back to the crib and hop in the car, and we instantly got that "smells weird in here" from our mom, but thankfully that's where it ended, at least for now. We arrive at Grandma's house, and in the 15-minute drive there, the za had fully melted into our systems. Also, because this was a while back, we were not the zagas we are now, so we were really banking on there being no one there, cause even though we can go upstairs, we can't just walk in like,
"Hey guys, Merry Christmas!"
Yeah, Merry Christmas. And of course, in the spirit of giving, fate had given us a big and juicy fuck you. Cause when we arrived and opened the front door, we were greeted by every cousin there existed. Place was looking like a McDonald's on a Friday night, cause I swear, half of my cousins I had never seen in my life. We tried to quickly go upstairs into the safe zone, but before we could, we heard, "Hey, where you going? Come downstairs." So now our plan A was spoiled, and we knew that this was gonna be one tough mission. Cause well, as we know, it is a tradition in every family to roast the hell out of the younger generation. First thing that was said as soon as we sat down was directed at my brother.
"So where's the little girlfriend you came with last Christmas?"
Yeah, we broke up.
Huh! Well, of course you did. You ugly as fuck, boy! Why you laughing, son? You're even worse. Looking like Peppa the Pig.
The adults alternated between talking about their political views and roasting us, so it was quite a roller coaster ride. One moment they're arguing if Joe Biden is conspiring with China, and next they're telling us how we have it so good, and how back in their day they had to work 12 hours a day at a coal mine for 30 cents an hour, and that we need to grow up and enter the real world. Anyway, after about 2 hours of munching and getting roasted, we decided to go for another walk. So first we went upstairs and rolled another impeccable spliff. As we were about to go out the front door, we were greeted by Uncle Ronnie, but me being faded and well, just stupid too I guess, I was holding the spliff in my hand like a present, out there for everybody to see. And Uncle Ronnie, being the drunk and outgoing party man he is, was quick to comment,
"Is that a joint?"
And in my head, I thought we're screwed. He'll never live this down. He's gonna tell everyone, and on top of everybody roasting us about getting zero hoes, they're also gonna roast us for being drug addicts.
Finally, you guys grew some balls. Have fun with that.
After that, we were like, damn! Didn't know he was chill like that. And went outside to smoke the spliff. As we were puffing on the za, we were informed via text message of a local Christmas party going on at Ricky's house. So as you do while bugging off the moon rock, we ordered a Uber without telling anyone at the Christmas function we're leaving. And the reason for that is, well, that Kush had some otherworldly abilities, cause it got us so suited we completely forgot we were supposed to stay overnight at Grandma's place, and that fact did come to bite us later. But for now the Uber arrived, so we hopped in and started driving to Ricky's place, where even though we didn't know it at the time, the craziest Christmas party in the history of Christmas parties was being thrown. I think we can all agree that edibles are the final evolution of the magic green plants, and their powers should never be taken lightly. That is unfortunately a lesson I had to learn the hard way. It begins with me and the main homie Salamander and Ricky. So we're at school and the final lesson had just ended, so I picked up my Nike Elite school bag and started walking out the classroom when I heard Salamander and Ricky whisper something like, "Hey bro, come over here real quick." This had me instantly intrigued, cause knowing Salamander and Ricky, I knew that they had to have something devious planned. What's up? So bro, you excited for tomorrow's field trip? Not really, it's just some boring museum. Yeah bro, you're totally right. But what if I told you it could be more than that? It could be a night at the museum type of experience. Bro, I think I know what you're about to say, and no, I don't want to smoke a split before we go on the bus. Why not, bro? Cause last time I got high in this type of situation, I damn near shat myself from the anxiety. Got me thinking of running out the classroom screaming, "I'm not high, you're all high." Man, it ain't gonna be like last time. Me and Ricky experienced stoners. Fool? Yeah, but I'm still gonna say no, but thanks for offering, I guess. You're lost, fool. So tomorrow comes, and I go sit next to Salamander and Ricky on the bus. Cause even though looking back at it, they might have been a bad influence on me, at least they weren't NPCs like the rest of our default setting ass class. I sit down and ask them, "So, you guys high right now?" And they chuckled and were like, "Nah man, we decided not to do it this time. Gonna save the good for the weekend." Damn bro, that's a good idea. I'll definitely join you in the play sesh then, for sure. About 20 minutes goes by when Ricky pulls out a couple brownies. Now, I know what you're thinking.
Brownies? Bro, how did you not know they were edibles?
And the answer to that question is, well, I wasn't quite the stoner bro I am today, and at the time, at least to my knowledge, I was the only one who had done edibles before. Also, it wasn't like I wasn't sus at all, it went something like this.
Hey bro, you want one? My mom made them for the trip.
Of course, man, I'm hungry as fuck.
Bruh,
that was bussin'. Mom makes some killer brownies. What y'all laughing at? And then it hit me. I had been tricked, bamboozled, fooled. Bro, don't tell me that was a edible. Nah, bruh. Have y'all even done Eddies before? It hits way harder than normal Zaza. Pfft, we know. We ain't even put that much in. How much then? 1 gram? Oh, okay, so that's 0.3 each. I guess we might be able to pull through. Nah. 1 in each brownie.
What have you done?
15 minutes after eating those brownies, we arrive at the museum, and I'm already thinking how I'm gonna escape this place, cause if these things ain't duds, there's no way I'm gonna be able to act normal. What pissed me off the most was these guys didn't have a care in the world, talking about, "Bro, this finna be a movie." Like, yeah bro, but probably not the type of movie you're thinking of. Gonna be tweaking so much, finna have to call the local priest to exorcise that THC out of your systems, fool. So at the 35-minute mark, I feel it, the first bit of high, and it kicks pretty hard. I wouldn't say I was gone or anything, but definitely on stage 2. And now knowing they weren't duds and that it was just the beginning, I had to act quick. Cause I knew in a couple more minutes I'll most likely start slurring my words and start chewing my mouth from the dryness like... Oh no, I'm already doing it. I gotta act quick, now or never. Teacher, I have a problem. What's wrong? I'm not sure. I think I ate something bad. I think it's food poisoning, Teach. Okay, well, go to the bathroom then. No, Teach, that's not enough. It's too bad. I feel it. I'm about to shit. Okay. Call your parents and go home. Don't want you crapping all over this motherfucking museum, bitch. Okay. He didn't say it like that. But the point is, I had avoided certain death, at least academically. I called my dad and he picked me up. I told him what had happened and he wasn't even mad. He just laughed and was like, you wanna go get some candy to enjoy the trip? Sadly, Ricky's and Salamander's fate was not so happy. From what I had heard, they started tweaking like a bunch of tweaker geekers. But thankfully, they didn't get expelled or anything, cause they ended up just sneaking out and taking a bus home. How are you already home, Ricky? You should be at the museum.
No, Mama. I think I am the museum.
Greening out or getting too high is the worst thing that can happen when inhaling that freshly cut grass. If you have a sudden emergency or miscalculate the size of the portion, things can turn south real quick. One moment, you're chilling in your room having the time of your life playing Minecraft or some shit. Next thing you know, the green forcefully teleports your brain into a realm filled with the demons of your nightmares. And once the grass pushes you over that border, it ain't no easy task to get back to Yodi land. But not to worry, for D who masters the green out, masters the universe. Okay, well that's kind of an overstatement, but nah, for real. If you want to learn how to never green out again, then you're in the right place. Cause being that I do have a PhD in spliff rolling, a master's degree in avoiding bad trips, and a bachelor's in high thoughts, I am more than qualified to teach you the ways of the Tsar. First things first, what are the symptoms of feeling too high? Well, the Cambridge Dictionary describes greening out as greening out is a term described as being so goddamn high that you start tweaking like a schizophrenic that hasn't taken his pills for a week. The symptoms of this state include dry mouth, anxiety, paranoia, thinking of that one time you should have done that one thing a little bit differently, etc. As we can see, greening out is obviously not a pleasurable experience, and to know how to counteract this phenomenon, we must analyze the 3 main types of greenouts. Number 1. The pure Kush coma greenout. Starting with the good old Kush coma. Being one of the most commonly occurring greenouts, it can be caused by many factors like overestimating your tolerance, smoking an unexpectedly strong strain, or the one I have seen the most, not correctly gauging the situation and how much fatedness it requires/allows. So let's say you're gonna be going over to a small little function with a couple of your buddies. Now, if the goal of said function isn't to all unifiedly test the boundaries of high, then I wouldn't recommend hogging the spliff in the rotation for too long, cause you best believe when everyone is chatting and having a good time and you're just laying on the couch like a sloth, you'll be wishing that you were a little bit more generous in the prior rotation. Plus, the guy who falls asleep first. Hey, remember that cursed movie you watched as a kid? Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, it was. But you're enjoying this salsa too much lately, so I'm just gonna make your brain think that it was real, so you get real spooked and can't sleep all night. That cool? What? No! Okay, bye. And rarest one. Number 3. The situational greenout. Even though this one doesn't happen often because most people who decide to get faded into Universe 7 plan out a safe area where they can enjoy the grass in comfort. All that being said, however well you plan, there is always the chance of an urgent mission popping up. And I mean, what can you really do when, I don't know, your homie's about to be jumped by a ragtag bunch of 13-year-old UK roadmen? The only correct answer is you gotta get your baked ass up from that couch you've melded with, pull up on the situation, and handle it like a man. Could you guys stop calling my friend the waste man, whatever that means? Man, shut up, blood, before you get chinged by the mandem, plotty waste man in it. What, I'm not a waste man, okay? And I can see we're not getting anywhere, so I'm gonna go now. Ching him up. Okay, well, you're probably not gonna be in situations exactly like that, but you get what I mean. now that we've learned about all the types of greenouts, how do we counteract them? Well, if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't have that master's degree in avoiding bad trips, although the spliff rolling one was not a lie, and therefore I did nothing wrong. By Prime Energy. But it's rather simple. To avoid the kush coma, don't smoke as much kush. The anxiety greenout can easily be avoided with basic strategies, so if you're going to a place filled with new people, it's probably not the best idea to hit that double Benjamin. And the last one, well, can't do nothing about that. Just hope you don't get chinged, I guess. We've all had a bad high before, and for some of us, we've had many. But what if I told you, you don't even know what that means? At least before you hear about the day I almost died while bugging off the Zaza. I woke up happier than usual because it was a special day. To be exact, it was my special day. My birthday. And I had planned a great celebration in my name. I was going to get wasted in my hometown with my old school friends. Because, well, I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I mean, I was turning 18, so you know your boy had to throw a killer party. Okay, to be honest, the party was pretty lame, cause my friends were either soy boys in a relationship or just plain gay, cause I told them multiple times, bring some hoes. The problem was, I had lost all my female connections in the area over the 2 years I was away, and they knew this. So how you gonna pull up to the party knowing your boy is back from the gulag and it's his birthday talking about,
bro, where the hoes at? This party lame as hell.
I told you bring the hose, any hose, yet you come here with a 6-pack and a vape. What you talking about where the hose at? Look in the mirror, fool. You the hoe. You the hoe. Anyway, so we're just chilling at my lame party when my boy Ricky hits me up like, hey bro, I saw you in town again. Wanna smoke some gas? And even though I do have an obligation to stay at my own birthday function, I decided to disband. Hey, everybody, thank you all for coming, but I'm gonna have to wrap this party up because it's getting kinda late.
Bro, it's 11 p.m. Party's just starting. Let's drink some more beers, eh?
Yeah, it's only 11 p.m. Let's drink some more beers. Get the fuck out of my house, Charles. So I get these soy boys out my house. Like, sorry, but if you can't even muster one single female on a 2-week notice to come to a house party, are you really even a man? But yeah, so here I am, half drunk, walking to the European version of 7-Eleven when I get a text from my boy Ricky.
Hey man, you wanna come roll with us on this drop-off? We can blaze up in the car on the way there.
And I don't really want to get involved with any dealings of illegal substances, but like, I was pretty much at the 7-Eleven already and really wanted to get lit. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I get to the parking lot and I see the most rusty ricer stolen from the junkyard looking car, blasting gangster rap from the speakers like it was a 50 Cent concert. I jump in the car and see my boy Ricky, but also 2 of my friends from elementary school. They discussing this business whilst me and Ricky blazing in the back, when I notice the driver seems kind of off. So I asked Ricky, hey bro, is that man good? Seems a little off.
Yeah, no, he good. Just had a couple beers.
Bruh. So I just found out that the driver is a teensy bit drunk. But I'm already here and we're blazing, so what am I gonna do, leave? It was about 10 minutes of chatting and smoking when the time came to roll out. And bro, when I say this car was the biggest piece of shit that has ever grazed public roads, I'm not exaggerating. The freaking bottom of the car was vibrating and shaking so much, it felt like we was having an earthquake. And on top of it, the engine was making these clunking noises, and the exhaust was spitting fumes like it was 1920. Even though I was high as a kite, it wasn't just the Zaza making me paranoid, because this guy was driving like he was on a NASCAR track. But the one thing he did constantly that got me praying to our Lord and Savior was taking every corner and curb on the opposite side of traffic. And even though we lived in a small town and it was midnight, if even just one car would have been on those dark and twisty roads that day, it would have meant certain death for all of us. You know those moments where you're like, oh Lord, please, I will never hang out with these thugs again and I will never smoke the good. Just save me from this death. That was me, but like times 10 at least. Anyway, what felt like an eternity of driving, we got to the drop-off, and it was just some more wannabe thug gangsters interacting with our group of wannabe thug gangsters. That interaction took about 10 minutes until we started driving back. And I was just praying the whole way to whoever would listen. Gandhi, Buddha, Michael Jackson, Pop Smoke, Jiraiya, anybody and everybody. Somehow we got back in one piece. Can't say the same words about the car though, cause when we pulled up to the 7-Eleven again and he turned it off, it made a weird noise. So he tried activating the shit box again and it wouldn't. So yeah, sucks for him I guess. So I say my goodbyes to the top fuck gangsters of my hometown, and all I can think about is, bro, what the hell happened to my old homies? Everybody's either a soy boy or a drug dealer, no in between. Guess the moral of the story is, chase your dreams, I guess. Oh, and don't go into cars that look like they were last maintenanced in 1955, cause there's a good chance that this'll happen.
Types of plugs you will encounter. This topic is very near and dear to my heart, because unfortunately to this day, I still have to rely on these guys for my Zaza. So you can imagine after years of experience of buying from tens of different plugs, I'm quite certain I have dealt with every kind there is, from the most vicious acting as gangsta as humanly possible thugs, to the high school dudes who just want to fund their Zaza addiction by selling it. And I think it's appropriate to start off with the type of plug I bought from my very first time. And he was the friend who knows a guy who knows a guy who has that exotic. This one isn't really officially a plug per se, but then again, I'm willing to bet this was how most people first encountered any type of Zaza seller. Every time when you and your friends discussed the grass and wanting to try it, he always said something like, yeah man, if you really want some, I got a few connects and they always sell that exotic. But in reality, dude's connects were usually his older brother or friend who actually knew someone. So for me, the times I did acquire the grass through this man, that shit was always some Reggie for real. And not just that, it always had a massive markup, cause who else can you sell oregano mixed mid-za for premium price than a bunch of stupid youngsters? But I can't fault the homie too much, cause back then, man, I swear, you could smell some grass and get faded, so everything seemed exotic, even if it was mostly herbs and spices bought at the discount aisle at Walmart. But even so, I ain't mad, cause that's the nature of business, I guess. If a dude is willing to buy your oregano pack for $30, then so be it. You gotta learn from it and move on. And so I did, and found myself a new plug who was yeah bro, that's an eighth. It's just like super compact, you know, like a diamond. The dude who always shorts you. A plug like this never has any longevity, cause I mean after being shorted 1 or 2 times max, however much you crave the za, usually your self-respect won't allow you to go back to man's like. So, you got the eighth? Yeah, of course, dog. I'm gonna hook you up nicely this time. This some good shit. Nice. Show me the bag real quick, though. Gotcha, big dog. Here it is. Where is it? Oh, wait, hold up, my bad. You need this to see it. Okay. Do you see it now? It's like super compact. You know, like a diamond. Yeah, like a diamond, right? Yeah, okay. But, I'm gonna have to skip this one. I don't really even want any za right now. Alright, bro. You're a loss. Get the fuck out of my car.
You don't want no smoke, don't want no jazz.
These the plugs who exclusively sell to stupid kids, cause anybody with any understanding of how 1 gram of za should look like would just tell him to F off and remove him on Snapchat. But this guy also abuses his status of the plug to provoke fear into dudes who don't yet know any better and think these guys are all freaking mafia level gangsters who, if you disagree with them, finna pull a Scarface and take out a M249 and start going bananas. But don't feel too bad if you've fallen for this scam before, cause I have too. In fact, I had a friend who was supposed to get 1 gram, but the plug gave him 0.1 and my man still bought it. Mostly cause he didn't even know how much a gram is supposed to look like, so he just trusted him. And unfortunately, 0.1 grams of grass won't really get you faded. Anyway, next type on the list is the complete opposite, and one of my favorites, and he is the always faded plug. This guy could also be called the plug who only sells to fund his copious amount of Zaza consuming on a daily basis. And why he is one of my favorites is for multiple reasons. Firstly, because he is the king of getting high off his own supply, he always has a comment on the stuff you're getting. Secondly, because mans is faded 24/7, he don't really want any confrontation, so he'll probably never short you. In fact, sometimes out of the warmth of his heart, he'll throw some extra in there, depending if he likes you as a customer or not. And lastly, because he has evolved to a point where being high is his normal state, which don't ever get that far. It's not good for your health, and it can and will ruin your life no matter how much you hear Zaza isn't addictive addictive it can be if you take it too far. But anyway, because of the fact he cannot live without the magic ring plant in his system, in my experience, he has always had a 100% success rate to the text,
Hey yo, you got any?
That meaning, mans is more reliable than a Volvo, mans is more dependable than James Bond, mans is more loyal than a golden retriever, god damn! The only problem for you, the customer, is he is usually pretty on and off on the plug-in business. Because if you can get that addicted to za, it's usually a personality trait. So knowing that, this guy either smokes every day 24/7 or he is completely grass-free. And when he is grass-free, he disappears like the Avatar. So yeah. But now on to the next plug on the list, and he is the plug who should have probably started an actual business instead. This plug is quite rare, and I've only ever met one of these mofos, but oh boy, what a roller coaster ride it was. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was looking for some grass, so I hit up my usual plug, only for him to inform me he is, quote, out of the game, but will give me the Snapchat of a guy who is, quote, new to the game. And so he did. And after writing mans asking for some grass, he told me to meet up near a construction store. And since this was a while ago, I ain't have my license yet, so I ran me an e-scooter and rolled up. And the person who greeted me was none other than Mr. Invisible. Yeah, no, that was like his actual Snapchat username. Anyway, it was the short guy who kinda looked like a goblin, but he seemed quite serious and was the first plug ever to write me afterwards asking, how was the stuff? And after replying, he also gave me a freaking affiliate program. Not for real. He told me every friend I link him up with, he will give me $20 if they ever buy from him. I ended up not doing that cause it kinda seemed ridiculous. Like, bro, you sell grass, not fucking VPN subscriptions. But over the next 6 months, I would see this man build a Snapchat grass cartel. Dudes was posting stories every day of his illegal activities like he had the cops under his payroll or something. And funniest part was, over the 6 months that I acquired the grass from him, I saw how his $10 camo pants and $15 Shane jacket turned into Gucci pants and an Armani jacket. Like, goddamn! Bro was really trying to be the local Scarface, and dudes even had mofos working for him. Like, sometimes I'd write him and he'd literally reply, come here, I'll get an employee to bring it to you. Employee? Bro was acting like he Mr. Krabs, sending SpongeBob to secure the secret formula. But unfortunately, his plugging career ended in about 6 months, where he sent us off with a heartwarming goodbye on his Snapchat story reading, greetings, my beloved customers. I am informing you all that I will unfortunately no longer be your plug, as I am moving on. It was great while it lasted, and I wish you all the best. As for the Zaza, I mentioned 3 people in this story who will fill my shoes in this field. Stay cool. Peace out. And the craziest part is, I'm not making any of this up. This dude was a legit comedy movie character, and his personality reflected it. He was like the generic Slav trapper guy who tried his hardest to act as gangsta as humanly possible, and every sentence man said had to have at least 2 curse words. So yeah, although he is the most memorable plug I've ever had, he definitely wasn't my favorite. That spot has to go to the friendly neighborhood plug. The best plug a man can ask for. This would be the dude that lives close to your neighborhood, so you don't have to travel around the whole of Skyrim just to get some za. But if that wasn't enough, this the plug that also, as the name suggests, is friendly and doesn't act all gangsta, nor shorts you for no reason, nor is high 24/7. He's just a chill, reliable guy. And sometimes he'll even come to you, cause you live in the same neighborhood and he enjoys riding his bike while flipping packs and making racks. And unfortunately, however much this dude is just a normal human being, in the field of plugs, well, he's like a diamond. Very rare. So if you got yourself a plug like this, be thankful for your blessings, cause your next one is probably gonna be the usual local wannabe Pablo Escobar. But hey, plugs usually switch like every 4 months anyway, so don't be discouraged when yours is, well, weird. I think most of us have worked a minimum wage job, and the most easily accessible ones usually involve the flipping of the patty some way or another. Like, I'ma keep it $1.50 with you. If you ain't work at a gas station or fast food place and instead opted for something like a hotel admin or a waitress at a cafe or even a lifeguard, you really got off easy. Cause as a youngster, your parents usually make you work at least once to teach you about hard work and dedication. But if you were out here bathing under the sun and only occasionally waved your finger like, you can't do that cause I might actually have to work then with all due respect, you probably ain't been through the struggles most of us went through. I worked at a gas station for a couple months and that was my first work experience. But to be honest, the gas station and fast food place are pretty much the same, cause besides from the gas, it's really a fast food place for when all the good food spots are closed and now you have to settle for the 24/7 microwave gas station grub. But I ain't even gonna cap, I love making food, especially if I don't have to wash the dishes later, and that was the case in the good old gas station. Well, what am I complaining about then? Well, you see, the problem with all minimum wage jobs usually boil down to a misunderstanding between the manager or a person that's been working there for a long time and the guy who's there because his parents made him go or he couldn't find any other job. That's me. Because you see, in this world, some people actually believe that being a manager at some gas station makes you a successful individual with a firm hand whose commands must be obeyed. Or in my case, this bitch wasn't even the manager. In fact, she was working the same damn position I was. That being, do everything you're told and I'll pay you $10 an hour. Which really should be the title for every minimum wage job if you ask me. Anyway, although we were working the same position, she had been there for years. So, you know, she was teaching me the ways of the fine art of cleaning toilets, scrubbing floors, flipping burgers, and above all else, kissing every customer's ass. Which is fine. I knew what I signed up for and I took it like a man. Until I got to the end of my graveyard shift, and you know, I ain't even gonna front. I was being pretty lazy, or another way to say it, I was putting in minimum effort. But I mean, that's why it's called a minimum wage job, cause all you have to do is exert minimal effort, right? But this scallywag thought otherwise. There was 5 minutes left on my shift and she pulls up on me and asks me to stock the fridge. And in my head I'm thinking, why not? But I'll probably have to leave it half done anyway, cause my shift is almost over, baby. But then she hits me with the most stupid, hilarious, and kind of sad sentence I've heard in a long time. Once you stock the fridge, I might let you go home. Like, what do you mean, might? I don't know if you've checked our name badges, but yours is titled the same as mine, that being slave for $10 an hour. Like, don't get me wrong, I ain't trying to shame anyone who's worked or working minimum wage. It's a struggle out here and everybody needs dough, and minimum wage jobs are really the only option if you don't have a degree or special skills. But this lady, well, I say lady, but she was my age, in fact we went to the same middle school, was bugging off some straight exotic for mouthing those words into existence. Like, I don't know what she expected me to respond, like, "Oh yes, thank you for your kindness, I will see to it that it is done, your madam." But I just said, I don't know what you mean by that, but my shift is ending in 5 minutes, and I'm going to be leaving in 5 minutes. And to that, she didn't respond anything, cause deep in her heart, she must have known what she said was dumb AF. Now, what we can take from this experience is some people can't accept reality, and instead try to project a false one in their mind. For her, she had been working at that gas station for a while, and was probably starting to feel like kind of a loser, but instead of saying to herself, okay, I'm not doing so good right now, but I sure as hell ain't gonna stay like this. I'ma work on myself every day until I get where I wanna be. She took the easy way out and told herself, man, life hates me. It's so unfair. All I can do is take out my bitterness towards it in my work by being a total douche to everybody and acting like I own the place. No, wait, practically? I do own the place. Yeah, I'm the big dog around here. So yeah, don't be that guy, for the good of others and also yourself, cause if you let yourself fall to that place, you're gonna be that grumpy adult, talking about how life has always been against you and how everything is so unfair towards you. And I don't think any of you wanna be that. But that was just one of the gas station sweats I encountered, and she was a mere disciple. One with talent, yes, but it would be long until she could control her hatred. You see, there was another, one with much more control over her anger, but still working the same position. Yet, alas, she hadn't been working there for a mere 2 years. No. 30 was the time of service for her. And she wasn't actually that mean, she just took her job way too serious. But I mean, I can't blame her because everybody needs purpose in this life, and if your calling is to clean toilets and make hot dogs, then, well, gosh darn, you gotta follow it. The only problem was, this woman was pushing this job onto me like I wanted to be there. Talking about if you wanna make it here, you gotta do this and that. Like, no, I don't wanna make it here, I wanna make it out of here. Got me thinking of how different people see the world, cause someone like myself could be watching 8 Mile and seeing the scenes where Eminem is working minimum wage and think, man, I know he gonna make it out of there. He Eminem, the king of rap. This is just temporary. But she was probably watching it and thinking, oh my god, how lucky he is to be there. If he keeps this up for a year or so, he'll get a promotion and make an extra $1 an hour. God damn. So yeah, it's all about perspective and the type of person you are, but I think the saying, shoot for the moon, cause even if you don't get there, you'll land among the stars, can really help a lot of people, especially if you are young. You should follow your dreams, however crazy they might seem, cause I promise you, it's quite hard to fail if you never give up. Also, working minimum wage is fine, and if you wanna take a job like that super serious, that's cool. Just don't force that same attitude onto other people, cause most dudes don't see a place like that as the end, but as a way to progress to the actual place they want to be.